What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to the Nintendo Open Air Podcast. It is Tuesday, January 9th, and Nintendo has still yet to grace us with information on a new Direct. Will it come later this week? Will we get one this month at all? If President Trump is looking for more fake news for the Fake News Awards, he should become a Nintendo fan this week. Every fanboy on the internet has created a fake Nintendo account, posting direct information or posted supposed leaked lists of games to be revealed. When will it come? The fans are ready and rabid, just waiting on the big end to make the move. We'll be checking on the rumors later tonight, but before we get there, let me introduce tonight's panel. We have all the regular cast with us tonight. We've got Mo, we've got Z, Max, and our favorite Arcade Bunny is with us as well. And we have a special guest tonight. Barry is joining us for the first time, so welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's interesting. I've been listening for a while, so glad to take part.
If we had all our listeners, we won't have any left.
That's right.
Yeah. I think we added our listener.
We should have done a giveaway on Twitter.
Coming soon. Maybe. Not really. So, tonight we're going to start off with some news from Japan. So, of course, we've all been through the Switch shortage here in the States, or in North America, I should say. And Japan, it seems they're still having a problem. It seems like the console maybe has caught up, but there's a major shortage on the games. And I'm talking every game, even 1-2 Switch. So,
You know it's bad then.
yeah. So do you think Nintendo's hitting them with this artificial scarcity stuff that we've got going on here? Are they trying it at home now? Are they neglecting the home audience? What's going on?
May I point out that in Russia they're throwing an extra copy of ARMS in with the Mario Kart 8 bundle?
Yeah.
So
and it's physical.
Yeah. There ain't no shortages of ARMS.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think part of it is they are scrambling a little bit because it sold a bit better than they were expecting it to. So that's one factor, but I don't know if it explains it all.
Yeah, you would almost think it would make sense to have software and hardware be 1-to-1 or close enough. You know, they should have an idea of what stuff's going to sell. But Japan's also just now kind of starting to get steady. Well, I guess everybody's just now starting to get steady stock on Switch, where they finally caught up a little bit.
Maybe they're trying to promote the e-store.
That could be too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, in Japan, I know we buy a lot of digital games in the United States. In Japan, they probably buy even more. So, like, their shortage is kind of misleading because I think more people buy digital in Japan than even here.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna make more money that way.
We have a weird.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what that ratio is.
We have a weird relationship with our brick and mortar stores here, though. You know what I mean? It's like it's better for Nintendo and the devs and everybody if we just buy digital. They get the money more directly. I mean, you know what I mean? And nobody has to deal with the whole process of making physical stuff for something that doesn't need to be physical. On the flip side, it's 20% cheaper to buy that physical stuff that costs extra money to make, which is so idiotic. But right, the reason for that is because hey, GameStop, we promote your games. You know, the console companies still look at the brick and mortar stores like GameStop as kind of a core part of their marketing, and even to some degree like Best Buy and whatever. But I don't know how much longer that's going to last. I mean, I like having brick and mortar stores around, but 75% of what I buy is, almost that much is online now. Is everyone else kind of the same?
I still buy a lot more physical, I think, but there are stuff too where there's like eShop exclusive stuff where you just can't get it physical that I'll buy.
I don't mean that. I don't mean physical. I mean buying online. Period. Like even if I'm buying a physical
like just
copy,
Amazon or
I'm
something.
Just ordering it and having it shipped to my house.
No, I still go to the store. I still like to. I'm old fashioned. I like to look around.
Same here.
I prefer to order and pick up at Best Buy, but especially now with a baby. All of a sudden I've switched over to the delivery thing. One thing I noticed about Best Buy is now they have the price listed and at least in my case, they offer me free delivery if and maybe it's because I'm like elite or something, because I bought a dishwasher and stuff this year, but they offer me free shipping to order something and have it shipped to my house, or if I want to pick it up in store, it's $1 off. So that's how they're working that out. So okay, I'll pay the extra $1 and go drive down there.
What a deal!
I might change my mind though. It's been pouring
I've
rain
been all
lately.
over the
I might
place.
change my mind.
I order some stuff online. I go to stores for some stuff.
Yeah,
A bit of everything.
yeah, just whatever's convenient that week, right? Oh, for me, going to Best Buy is an excuse to go pick up, something from one of the restaurants near the mall for lunch. So it's like, oh yeah, next Tuesday I'll go get myself a Lucille's barbecue or a Red Robin burger or something, right? But otherwise, yeah, I'm more and more shifting towards shipping stuff to home because, again, baby,
Yeah. But as Barry said, I would be interested to see sales of just regular games are doing over digital, because I feel like we're in the midst of that kind of shifting,
And those numbers are hard to come by, right? A lot of the numbers reports that come out about game sales either do or don't include digital sales, or they include digital sales from this source and not that source, or
Yeah, they don't separate them.
There's not a good place to find like complete information on anything regarding sales.
Yeah, and I don't know
with Nintendo in general.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because the infrastructure doesn't necessarily exist to track it, or in Nintendo's case, we know, or like Microsoft, right? The Xbox One, Microsoft has just never released sales figures for the Xbox One. Everybody knows why, but go ahead. Right, everybody knows. Everybody knows why they haven't. They released a vague statement like Xbox One X exceeded our sales predictions. That's all they've said about it. So they expected to sell 3 of them apparently, and they sold 4. I don't know, but actually it sold okay from what I understand. As far as a new console goes, probably sold as well as the Wii U did.
But you know how Nintendo is; they're really tight-lipped about anything information-wise about what they allow the public to see.
Yeah. Even if it's good information, they want to make sure they release it on their terms and spin it their way. And yeah.
There's so many factors when you're looking at, am I going to buy a physical copy of this or download it? I mean, you got the price point thing where you can find deals on the physical, but some games it's just more convenient to have it digital so that you don't have.
Splatoon 2 is the perfect example, right? And all those online games, I think we agree.
Well, for me, it was Odyssey, because I know the kids are going to want to be on it all the time.
Oh, well, okay.
And then
there you go.
And then if I decide to go with something like the Skyrim, that's something that I'm not going to want the kids to have access to all the time. So I'm going to want a physical copy so I can control it.
See, and your logic's different. Whereas for us, for example, on like Mo and I have mentioned before, things like Splatoon and Rocket League. Well, Rocket League, was a download only for now.
For now, yeah.
But yeah. But right, Splatoon, I'm still kicking myself for having bought the physical version. I got the download on the original Wii. I got the physical version. I loaned it to my buddy, and he's like, "Wow, do you mind if I just keep this?" Just because he was, across town, and it was a pain for me to go pick it up and whatever. Like, all right, here, you give me the money, and I'll just buy the download version. Because I had decided, oh no, this is a game I want on my system all the time, and now it's my number one swapped out cartridge. Like I put another game in my Switch, and more often than not, I take it back out before ever playing it and put Splatoon back in, because another Splatfest, or I just I'm bored and I want to just do a few rounds of turf just before I go to bed or whatever. It's the game. It's still kind of my go-to game whenever I pull the Switch out. And I just wish it was a download, but damn it, that extra $12, man, that suckered me. In hindsight, I would have gladly paid the extra $12 to have the download version.
Laziness comes into play too. It's definitely easier, especially with a Switch, to have it there all the time. Yeah, it's
agreed.
It's a convenience charge, I guess. The more for the physical, but yeah, I bought Splatoon 2 physical as well, and also did the same as you on Wii U, where I bought it physical and then got rid of it and bought it digital. So.
At some point, too, with the Switch, with its limited memory, you're going to run into also the issue of if you get too much things as downloads, you're going to be swapping cards anyway. So you're still going to run into that issue eventually.
It depends. I mean, I keep. It seems like it pops up in my feed a lot because I keep shopping for them, but I keep seeing sweet deals. Like the wife and I just got new phones, and it was $20 for a 64 gig. And yeah, that 64 gig is the size where you're swapping out cards. But I just expect by the time I start needing the 128, and I got a 128, by the time I start filling that up, I imagine the 256 is going to be not too much. I'm hoping,
Yeah. One of the bonuses, I think, too, to having something physical is that, like, I think I had mentioned this off the air, is that you never have to worry about your kid getting in and playing your game and messing up your save file or doing anything when you've got a physical game, because you know it has to physically be in there, and they can't just get to it on their own. So you have to deliberately be intending to load that game and play that game.
And also, if you have a physical game, you can sell it at GameStop if you really decide you hate it later.
That's always been my big thing. Is like, I've always felt like I've got this potential way to make a few bucks down the road, whether it's 10, 20 years. I can always sell physical, which I can on digital. But
I still have the.
But I think with.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I still have that collector mindset that I've had from the beginning, from pre-NES. But really, it wasn't until the NES that I got the NES that I thought this is something I'm going to keep forever. But right, I just still have that. Like, I have a big book of all my discs from. It's a huge one of those big Case Logic cases of all my discs from GameCube, Wii, and Wii U. And like in some cases on the Wii U, I double dipped. Well, in a lot of cases, it was like I got the free download version when I already had the disc or whatever, like of Mario Kart or whatever.
Right.
But in some cases, I literally, like, Splatoon, I would have just double dipped. I would have just flat out just bought another copy, download version. Right. I mean, I still have that collector thing in me from way back. So I totally get liking the physical cartridge, and I just wouldn't. Yeah. I have a thing about selling them, unless it's a really oddball. Like, I sold a few old Game Boy games back in the day that were just really crappy Game Boy games. I sold them on eBay, but otherwise, nah, I kept everything.
Sorry, what makes me think about the physical versus digital is just that we're now living in a world where there's a lot of games that are wholly dependent on the fact that it's an online multiplayer, like a Spaltoon, where in 20 or 30 years, what's a Wii U disc of Spaltoon going to be worth when all you've got is the single player? It's
as a curiosity.
90. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because here's the thing about it is, well, I imagine in 20, 30 years, Splatoon 2, you could still just wire up a couple switches, or
that's true.
Wireless a couple switches.
If so that's two that are still working.
I mean, there's still for Splatoon 1, there's still enough to be done with it. I don't know. If you're ever going to go back to an old game, at least for me, I can't think of an old game I picked up, like a really old game, and just spent hours and hours and hours with. Usually I check it out, I play it a little while, and okay, I've checked this out, and I move on. I can't think of any old game that I've gone back and just played to death, although I'm probably not thinking of something.
Yeah.
For me, it was the Fire Emblem on Game Boy Advance. I would generally, get the Game Boy Advance out and fire it up, and I would play through it and then put it back away.
Yeah, I played through, I remember playing through Metroid Zero Mission on Game Boy because it kept just not coming to Wii U, like in North America. Like, they had released it in Europe and in Japan, and it had been like years, and I was just going to wait. And then finally I got tired of waiting, and I was like, I'm just going to fire this up and go ahead and play through it on the Game Boy.
Well, okay, so exceptions for things that there are a few games that I will just play through, like original Metroid I can play through in just a few hours, and I'll totally do that. But those are stuff that I've already played.
Super Mario World.
I've never gone back and discovered something and thought, that this is something I missed out, and that I just felt like, oh, this is so awesome. I've really, really, really got to play through it. It's once something's old in my mind, it's old, and I can respect it, and I can, if it's something that I played back then, I can, you know what I mean? But if it's hard for me to go back, and like the retro thing, just having lived through that era already, it's like they're a curiosity and a novelty. They're not, to me, they're not, I don't know. Hard to explain.
Sacrilege.
I have the same issues sometimes, even with virtual console games, especially if it's something older, from way
Mock
back.
Rider. Oh.
Well, yeah, you might play it, and you play it for a while, and it's like, okay, but I'm not going to spend the next 3 months.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
Mock Rider is something I remember playing the crap out of as a kid, and then I get on the virtual console, I'm like, wow, that's one of those things that's way worse than you remember. Yeah. I don't even want to look at Rad Racer. Has that ever shown up on the virtual console?
No, I don't. Sure for some reason, no, and I don't know why.
But I played the crap out of that on the NES. I got Rad Racer with the advantage.
They should have.
So those two. Oh,
I don't know if there's something with a Rad Racer license. Like that's like one of those ones like pro wrestling that just never showed up again.
Maybe they had some weird relationship with some third-party dev that had a hand in those.
I'll tell you what, Rad Racer 3DS would have been a real shoe-in.
I know, man. I played. That was not the beginning of my love affair with 3D, but Rad Racer came with the blue and red glasses and had a 3D mode, and it looked pretty good. I played a lot of it. So like the cars would disappear, right? So sometimes they would sort of disappear from one frame and not the other. It was like it would do weird stuff with your head when you were playing it, and cars would pop in and out of existence, or sort of like, it would give you a headache. But it was awesome otherwise.
Yeah.
It was developed
my favorite all-time.
It was developed by who?
Square.
Oh, you know what? What? Square stuff has made it to the virtual console, right? But there's a bunch of old Square titles that I've always kept an eye out for. Does anyone remember Cobra Triangle? Wasn't that Square?
Yeah.
I love that game. That never made it into the virtual console, to my knowledge, at least not on Wii U. I don't think.
I can picture the box art, but I don't think I ever played.
I would have bought it.
What were you saying, Barry?
It was a little boat game. Sorry.
Well, my favorite racing game on the NES was the Micro Machines one, and that one wasn't licensed by Nintendo, so it'll never appear on a virtual console. But it was a real hoot. You could have two players that race on the screen. If one got too far ahead, they would catch up, and you'd get a point. And they were fun, unique little levels based on a sandbox or a garage or a desk, and it was a lot of fun.
You know what?
And I don't know that I ever played that. I played a lot of RC Pro-Am.
I think I've heard other people, or at least I've read somewhere, like, you know what I mean? People have referred to this Micro Machines game before as being very good. And I'm going to bring it up, Mo, just for you. There's a Micro Machines game on like the Oculus store on the Gear VR. And I thought about it because I remembered somewhere hearing some old Nintendo Micro Machines game was really cool. But its reviews are mediocre, unfortunately.
Yeah. Micro Machines, if I remember right, were made by Galoob, who also made the Game Genie. So Nintendo might be harboring an old hatred still.
There's some bitterness there.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, I don't know. Where were we? Somehow we went from physical to digital to Micro Machines.
And I don't think any of this was in the topic list whatsoever, was it, Jason?
No. But we hit on something good. Yeah. Something I wanted to bring out about the physical to digital. We were talking about, going digital, maybe kind of like the future, but why are these indie developers then so excited and so set on getting their games get a physical release rather than just digital?
I think
it's something.
I think it's just a thing I think anybody who's making if you're writing a game and you're a software coder and whatever, and you release a digital product, there's nothing tangible, right? I think I think every dev would love to have a physical cartridge copy of their game to take home and put on their shelf. And
hey, Mom, you can go to the store and pick up your son's game.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. And be able to see it in a store and sign copies and give it to their friends and all that kind of like I would think every dev would just.
But there is this limited run games. that's coming to Nintendo Switch. Right now on their Twitter, they've actually got a giveaway where they're going to give away a Switch system. And then once they get so many followers on their Twitter, they're going to announce their first Switch games. And Limited Run Games basically just takes indie titles and does a limited physical run of those games. So they're going to start bringing some of the stuff. So you might see stuff like Stardew Valley at some point, or something like that with a physical.
They're the ones that do those. They do like fancy special editions, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
And they're well. Do they do just regular? At least all the ones I've seen out of them, I think, were all these super fancy. They're a little pricey because they are limited runs, but they also come with all sorts of like art books or whatever. They do it up. They do a nice little package.
Yeah, I think I've seen multiple versions, but I also don't know how they sell. Like with a physical, especially when we get into talking about physical digital, the Switch tax, Axiom Verge comes to mind, with it being $30 for the physical version and $20 normally for the eShop version. Yeah. I think they do give you like a little booklet or something, but is it enough to? I know there's people who really want to own something physically, and it's nice to have, but I don't know sometimes when there's a $10 difference.
That buddy of mine, Conquest, picked up the physical Axiom Verge.
Did he?
Yeah, he's sometimes a little out of the loop. So the whole retro thing has kind of caught him by surprise. Although he played Retro City Rampage a while back, he loved it to death. But yeah, he was really excited about Axiom Verge, so he went and he waited and went and picked up the physical. And as a side note, I guess I need to backtrack a little bit. Like I did play that Blaster Master Zero and enjoyed it. I played it pretty much all the way through. So I'm not totally anti-retro games, I guess. It's just a lot of time the real retro games, right? A lot of times they're just subject to the limitations of the development at the time, right? Yeah. You go back to a lot of those, just like the Blaster Master and a lot of the retro remakes, and I mentioned before, a lot of they'll say, in the reviews, this plays as good as you remember the old game playing, which is to say way better than the old game actually played, because some of those old games, they had a lot of control issues and stuff, and so a lot of these retro remakes, they fix all that, and they give you a nice polished experience. And again, there's lots of them are like that, but that Blaster Master Zero I can at least speak to as being one of those very well done, kind of polished up, like it really felt like I was playing the old game. But when I busted out the old game on the virtual console, no, that old game sucks.
Yeah, I just recommended that. One of my friends just got a Switch like real early this month. He wanted one. He decided on like December 24th that he wanted a Switch, just out of nowhere. Like, I think I'd like to have a Switch. And they went to the stores and like there were just none. So he did finally get his hands on one. I talked to him last night. I was like, "Hey, you were a big Blaster Master fan like back in the 80s, right?" He's like, "Yeah, I love that game." It's like, there's another one, and there's a demo you can play in the eShop, so I think he's going to check that out.
Yeah, no, he needs that then. If you have any nostalgia for the first game, which I think you said you really didn't, but I had played the crap out of the first one. When the Game Boy Color sequel popped up on the virtual console on 3DS, I immediately snapped it up, a few years back.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that I don't remember playing as a kid. Like, I didn't remember playing as a kid. And then when I got into my big retro video game thing, I was just kind of like, what games do I need in my collection? And that was one that kept coming up, so I bought it on eBay. And so I have the physical NES version, and I played it, and I was like, meh. I mean, it's okay. And I did try the demo of Zero. I thought it was all right, but it didn't grab me.
It was a good Metroidvania. What really hampered it was that top-down mode was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But the side-scrolling part of the game and the exploration part was good stuff, I thought.
Mechanic the new version out of the vehicle.
Yeah, that was neat. But the new one really fixes the most of the changes are in that top-down mode. You now have a real freedom of movement, whereas in the old one, remember, you were like locked to like left, right, up, down. It was this really weird, awkward, stiff control scheme. This one has, different weapon control, and everything about it is a modern, smooth, fluid game, whereas the old one was just terrible.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things.
At least the top-down part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, let's reel us back in. Let's go back to Japan. So, recently, we have found out that the console market has increased by 172.9% in Japan, and that isn't due and largely to the Switch having great success there. And I'm meaning by console market, I mean the actual consoles being sold. And the Switch software, or the software rather, is up by 103.8%, which is also due to Switch software. So I thought
I would imagine. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was some interesting numbers. I thought some pretty high numbers.
I would imagine a lot of that is people buying the Switch alongside their PlayStation. Replacing their 3DS since it's huge. 3DS is, a hell of a lot of people have a 3DS over there.
I don't feel like the other consoles do as well in Japan as they do in the US.
PlayStation does.
Does it?
PlayStation's, that's a home team
Xbox
console
that they don't like.
Just the Xbox is that foreign box from them Americans. But no, Sony does all right. Sony's doing well over there. Nintendo is really kind of, I think, seems to be the
home team favorite, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it's really popular over there.
Yeah, it's the kind of supply issues Nintendo has. But then again, I've never heard of people lining up, thousands of people lining up around city blocks to get PlayStations. I mean, there's runs here and there, but it's
you
not.
Could say that's because they know how to produce them.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's not quite the same rabid fan base that Nintendo curates and.
Yeah, I did see a graph this week where they were talking about so I think we may have touched on last week or touching on this week about Nintendo's good sales in the US, and they were showing like a chart of just like I think it was worldwide, like the Switch is pretty much on track right now worldwide to possibly be the fastest selling console, not just in the US, but they were showing it compared to like PlayStation and Xbox and the Wii. Although PS4 is right up there though.
It probably depends also on your time slice, I would bet.
The Switch was named the quickest selling console in the US recently. Just to hit on what you were saying.
And it had Japan about a week before that, so.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, so it's doing very well, and I think I had heard that the PlayStation, and it seems wrong, but I thought I had heard somewhere that PlayStation 4, or maybe it was PlayStation 2, had launched in March. It seemed like there was one of them that launched at the same kind of time window as Nintendo. So everyone kind of wasn't sure how that would go over, and apparently it went over just fine. It doesn't hurt that you've got two of the Game of the Year nominees on your system as well.
That's very true.
But another factor too, I mean, for sure the Switch has done great, but if you're comparing it to last year there were no new hardware releases except maybe you could say the NES Classic, which wasn't a big factor.
Wasn't available. Yeah, but this is fastest selling even compared to what the PlayStation did for the same number of months.
Or the Wii.
Or the Wii, which is really the one to beat, I guess.
Yeah, it's a better comparison than to look at what it did last year for overall hardware sales, is what I'm saying.
But yeah, it's done better than I ever thought it would be. I tried to naysay as long as I could. But apparently something has captured everybody's imagination with this piece of hardware. And it's not just in the US.
Well, of course, we are taking a very honest look at Nintendo. So if we've got some good news, we've got to talk about some bad news as well. So Nintendo stock dropped 16.5%. I believe this was probably through December. So the big contributing factor as people are kind of analyzing with the release date and with the soon drop off was Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Because there was a huge spike when it came out and everybody was excited, then it quickly dropped off and then continued to drop off.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the trend that happened with us.
Yeah.
It kind of slowed down, but I think that probably does happen with every game when it's new, that it does drop off. But like, I don't
does
know
every
if
game drop
Mario
this-
Run is still picking up dollars, like if people are still buying Mario Run or pumping money. Like, I'm sure Mitomo, that they've never really talked a ton about Mitomo, I don't feel like. I don't think people ever pumped money into that, but Fire Emblem seems to be doing pretty well. So
Yeah.
With Animal Crossing, it had the flavor initially of an Animal Crossing game, but it didn't have the depth. So after
Yeah.
people had played for a week, it became quite noticeable that it's not the same sort of experience.
And I think people would have liked some kind of more social aspect to it, other than just going and looking at your friend's stuff.
Yeah.
Market boxes and
Yeah. And they made it kind of a pain in the ass to just do that too. Like,
Especially everything was frustrating about that game. Trying to get the fish you wanted, going to visit your friends, trying to get anything built for an animal.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Animal Crossings have always had like time limits on them, and as much as, hey, deliver this gift to this villager by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But this is like, you might just casually boot it up and be like, oh shit, I got to get 3 of these butterflies in the next half hour before the shift change.
Yeah, or less. If you
Yeah.
found a half hour, that's good on you. It's usually like 15 minutes. That's great.
Right. So, yeah, but I think most of us, if not all of us, or none of us, I guess I should say, put a dime into the game. We've got some friends who had, but
some other guests that have been on the
Yeah.
podcast have, but not.
Just out of curiosity, I looked at the amount of Leaf tickets that I've massed up. I got the Nook and the KK and whatnot, and then I just started saving them to see if they ever released any more. And I've got about 535. I said, if I wanted to buy 535 tickets, how much would that cost me?
Yeah.
And it would be about $25 Canadian worth of tickets that I've got sitting there.
Yeah, they did kind of give those out pretty well. I think they expected the Leaf tickets. I think that's probably the biggest failure in terms of game making from a business perspective, is that they thought that we were just going to be like, I'm not going to wait 24 hours to build this project. I'm going to burn through 200 Leaf tickets and then I'll just buy some more. Whereas Nintendo fans are a patient bunch. We're like, what? I have to pay $2? I'll wait 2 days.
We showed them.
We sure did. We sunk the battleship Animal Crossing. Friend. I think plus, but yeah, they are pretty generous with especially right at the beginning. You get tickets for everything. It's like all these different achievements. They just keep giving you tickets, and there's daily things where you can get tickets, and login bonuses sometimes where you get tickets. So yeah, unless you really just cannot wait.
And they'd renew them later on when they'd have, every couple of weeks they'd have a Christmas special or a New Year's special, and there was ways to earn a few more. So.
Right. Yeah, I finished my Christmas stuff, and then I got out of the game, and I really haven't been back.
Just that kind of refresh rate, like Barry was mentioning. I think it's present in Fire Emblem Heroes as well. They give, while it's terrible trying to pull for heroes at times, and you get a lot of garbage that you don't want, they are pretty good about giving you opportunities to get more of the monetary, or the money in the in-game money, I should say, which is orbs.
Yeah.
So,
or even Mitomo giving out the little tickets and stuff like that. They all do a pretty good job of giving that stuff out, where it's going to be a very small amount of people, I think, that are going to want to. Although there was Chrissy Teigen or something that had been complaining on Twitter about the game when it first came out and was like, I want a real Animal Crossing and blah, blah, blah. And these villagers are so grumpy and they're just barking out orders. And then she's like, that said, I've got like $200 already dropped into this app. So some people out there, of course, she's got that kind of money.
They're waiting on the whales to keep them afloat, I think.
Yeah. To me, I think all it really needs to do is make enough to pay for itself, and that's fine. But it's surprising that the stock would drop, that you can have the fastest selling console in U.S. history of all time, and your stock still takes a hit.
Yeah.
Over a mobile game, free to play mobile.
Yeah. So I don't know if that fully adds up. It's all kind of speculation, I think, at this point. But
it's just looking at charts, what it looks like.
Right. And they haven't, I don't know. I mean, they've announced that, but we don't really have numbers on how some software is doing, or I'd be interested to see what that's based off of, or what that seems really dramatic for investors to drop that hard.
I will say, in researching this a little bit, the last big stock drop that I come across listed for Nintendo was when the Switch was announced. So that's just kind of an interesting aside there.
When what was announced?
When the Switch was announced after the presentation, there was a stock drop. So,
well, maybe that was based on the fact that as soon as it was announced. Well, I guess no, because you're talking about October, right? You're not talking about the January.
I think it was Switch. January was what it was referring to.
Oh, well, maybe that's because they realized the very next day that there weren't enough to go around and pre-orders were all sold out. So.
I think part of that's just uncertainty too. Whenever there's going to be a big change.
Yeah, but it's weird around the holidays for a stock to drop like that.
Yeah, because the stock drop was in mid-December, I guess. Around there.
That's right around shopping season. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of surprising that a stock would drop like that when you've got such a successful console. Or you could say two successful consoles, kind of, going around. I assume the 3DS is just kind of icing on the cake at this point.
And the Super NES Classic, which I think did fairly well.
It probably sold every unit, I would say.
All right, well, moving on. Still talking about 2017 a little bit here. We've recently got a list of the most played Switch games of last year. And I guess this is probably based on actual playtime from the Switch. And the top titles are pretty well what you would expect them to be. Of course, it's Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Splatoon 2. But there's some interesting ones down in there. Minecraft was number 5, followed by Stardew Valley. ARMS was 8. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. That one's the one that stood out to me, was number 12. And that was ahead of Fire Emblem Warriors and Sonic Mania.
It's got its fans.
I have a few friends that were big fans of the cartoon and bought it and have been having a good time with it.
That's a system seller, Jason.
I just didn't know. And of course, 1-2 Switch is also in there, so, you know.
Blasphemy.
Again, at my family gatherings, that might get the most play of anything.
I think
those are the people that they just turn it on and then they forget that their Switch is on and they don't have it set to go to sleep after a few hours.
They turn the TV off and then the Switch is still on. So.
Yeah. They've left it on for days. Yeah. I mean, it also, I guess, is helped by the fact that there wasn't a ton of titles at launch. So, was Mario Kart 8 the next big release after launch for the most part, after Zelda and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they had a few months, I guess, for people to play it. But that's the game, too, that if you did buy that game and you're showing it off to new people when it's a new console, you know, that's the one where you'd probably put in and be like, hey, check this out, just like I did with Snipper Clips.
Yeah, and, you know, when we were talking about ARMS before, if they had released it before Mario Kart 8, that would have been great. But I think they wanted to get Mario Kart 8 out as quickly as humanly possible because they knew that's the one that people would take to bars, right? And play with other people in public.
Yeah, it's one of those evergreen titles.
It was their perfect. And but it's also the most accessible. Like everybody in the world, when at my family gatherings or whatever, that's the one game everybody will sit down and play. People are intimidated by Smash or they're intimidated by whatever. Everybody will sit down and play Mario Kart.
I don't know. My mom's intimidated by Mario Kart.
Well, almost everyone will sit down and play Mario Kart. That's true. Yeah. My mom will play Wii Bowling, and that's about it.
Oh, really?
But right, they figured they wanted something. It was a marketing move, right? They wanted Mario Kart out as quickly as possible so that they had people, using
this is a family system
that can be used publicly in a bar. Right? That was what they wanted. Is they wanted to get people in public using it so that other people saw it and wanted it. And I think it worked. I was doing it with 1-2 Switch mostly, but I mean, I had that moment. I played, with 4 people in a food court in Vegas. We all sat down and played Mario Kart on a postage stamp size screen, and it was okay.
Since we're talking about Mario Kart, we did see a little bit of a wacky news coming up. In the number 2 bestseller in video games on Amazon.com for the month of December was Mario Kart Wii.
Hey-oo.
I don't think anyone saw that one coming.
I think somebody had said that could have just been like, I really want Mario Kart for Christmas, and they went on Amazon, typed in Mario Kart, maybe that was the first result, and they were like, I guess this is the one they want. Yeah, I really don't know. Maybe there's something we don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe GameStop was buying Mario Kart for Wii at a higher price than they were selling on Amazon or something. And there was something that only people in certain flipping circles knew about. That's a head scratcher.
If you're out there listening to us and you know the reason why people were buying Mario Kart Wii, hit us up. Find us
in droves.
Yeah. If you bought Mario Kart Wii, let us know why you bought Mario Kart Wii.
It's got to be someone bought it in bulk. It's got to be.
Maybe it was featured in some TV show,
or a small group of people is buying it.
Or maybe Justin Bieber was found playing it, and all his believers went out and bought it.
Maybe Nintendo bought them all back to put them in landfill.
That could be too.
Keep it a rare and evergreen.
But it's not a Wii U game.
Yeah, but we suffered from a ton of shovelware.
Yeah.
Like how many unsold copies of Mario Kart Wii are there out there? There's probably a ton, I would bet.
You can still readily find Wii titles at your local Walmart if you have one that's a little
or Toys R Us.
Or Toys R Us.
And a Wii U will play any Wii game pretty much, with a few exceptions.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially since the online is dead.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's very strange. I just hope that it wasn't poor children getting that on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out where to put that into the Wii or to their Switch at. It's like, it doesn't go.
There was some sort of spark of nostalgia for the good old days of sitting next to the fire and the Christmas tree and playing Mario Kart on the Wii, and it just struck everybody at the same time, and they said, let's recreate that experience. Yeah, I don't know. That is definitely the bizarre item for the week, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody figured out you can, run some kind of homebrew hack on the Wii if you have Mario Kart Wii.
That could be too, but would that do enough numbers that it would make it
on the Wii?
A number 2?
No, of course
not. Sell like 10 copies or something.
I wonder what was like number 3.
Yeah, who's hacking these days? I don't know.
What was the one who just sold just under the Mario Kart? Yeah, it's wacky.
Well,
and you can get it on. Can you get that one on Wii U?
Different one.
I was trying to remember if that one was available as a download, as like a Wii download or not.
Don't think so.
I think they've got the DS one, but maybe not that one. Anyway, sorry. Move along. Oh.
So bringing it back to this year, 2018, we did get a little bit of news that made some of us sort of happy. That was about the Splatoon 2 Joy-Cons are finally coming to North America. Finally. Only how many months? They're kind of. Yeah, they're kind of coming and they're way late. But the colors are swapped.
Yeah, so it's the reverse. So instead of the green being on the left, it's on the right, which is nice for those of you out there who picked up the Splatoon set, because now you can get yourself a set of all pink, or a set of all green. But for someone like myself and possibly Jason, who would love to have just green, it seems like we're still going to have to wait a while, or import and do a bunch of stuff, jump through a bunch of hoops,
and end up with a pink set you got to get rid of.
Yeah, which I think you could do, especially if it had glitter on it.
How much did you say people were selling individual greens for on eBay, Mo?
I saw one for like 70. It was like 65 or 67 plus shipping for just the left green, or you could buy the whole thing for 80. Which I would do. I just didn't want to go into the hassle of having to buy it and then flip it, and ship stuff and all that stuff. I'll wait until they allow me to get the color of my choice, which I would say in 2 or 3 years, maybe by the end of the Switch's life cycle, we'll be able to do.
When no one else is buying Joy-Cons, then you can get any color you want.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have the Samus ones and the Toad ones. And
oh no! Please no.
There was that leaked list, right? There was a gold and purple on there. What would that be?
Yeah, one of them said pink.
What would gold and purple be? That's like, is there some kind of ghetto themed game coming out?
I think it's like Fire Emblem.
NBA Playgrounds.
Oh, really? Yeah, exactly.
That would be interesting if they did.
Yeah.
Gold and purple for Fire Emblem. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
To me, that's the outside and inside of a Cadillac in the ghetto.
It's hard to anticipate the kind of demand for, like, I think because I'm hoping, I always have this weird paranoia that anytime anything does well, Nintendo is going to be like, this is what people like. And like, maybe that's it. Like the neon sold better than the gray. So they're like, people must like 2 different colors.
You know what? When I was a kid, I learned early on that if I ever told my mom I liked something she made me for lunch, that was all I was going to friggin' get until I begged her to stop. And you're right, Nintendo kind of does that too, the same thing. They make this, and it's sometimes based on bad information, like, oh, people must not like, whatever. But honestly, purple and gold, I'd totally buy that. If it's one purple, one gold, I don't care. I don't care which is which. I'd be almost
obligated to at this point.
Yeah.
What, me? To keep the collection going?
Yeah.
No, I never got the black developer one, so it's like, you know what I mean. I'm always going to have that missing piece anyway.
Find them someday.
Nothing little spray paint can't fix.
For Nintendo Gold speaks to me of
Zelda.
Of what color the Breath of the Wild cartridge should have been.
Original Zelda. For purple, the only thing that comes to mind is Waluigi, and he's not much of a standout.
That would be something though if they put out like a yellow and purple.
What if it's
what purple evokes to me is Starman, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say it could be for Mario and Sonic at the Olympics, but I guess that would be red and blue.
Yeah. I don't know that we're going to get that one this year.
I don't know. I'm still holding out.
There's still time.
Yep.
Maybe if they put out a direct, we'd know.
That's right.
If it comes out, it'll come out on 3DS.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of those titles that, because wasn't that just recently where they had pulled all the copies of an older one, or there was something about
Rio
that.
Rio 2016.
So who knows? Maybe the license ran out.
Not be.
With the Olympic Committee or something, and they had to take them out.
That could be.
Before we leave Splatoon altogether, though, I should mention that there has been a new Splatfest announced, which is which type of movie do you prefer, action or comedy? And it's
worldwide.
Yeah, it's going back to global results.
Yeah.
Is anyone happy about that?
Well,
let's say global results. I assume the times will all be the same as well.
Global results, but the players still aren't going to be able to play.
Yeah. Global results doesn't mean that we're all playing together. That's not. I don't know.
But was it the first one that they did that where it was
the first
one, global, or is this the first global one?
I thought the first couple were global.
Yeah.
The first one was for sure. There might have been a couple. I like it better when it's all synced up and everyone's playing, the same theme across the world or whatever.
That is kind of fun, yeah.
The staggered ones took away a little bit. Some of the themes were a little bit more strange, I found.
Warm breakfast versus cold breakfast?
Yeah.
With a toilet paper roll? Yeah, it's like Nintendo is sending a very clear message to Europe that they just don't care about them.
Now, and here's another thing is when it was the Wii U and it was a pretty small player base, it was exciting when we got cross-marketing like Transformers or whatever. It was like, wow, like there's somebody actually paying attention to the Wii U. Whereas on the Switch, I assume we're going to be inundated with that kind of stuff at some point. I'm kind of surprised we haven't been already.
Well, they have in Japan.
They have in Japan.
Oh, that's true. They've already done crossover ones. Yeah,
they do Post versus Kellogg's.
Does the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still have the Mercedes DLC that was part of the?
I believe that it does, but I think it does. I'll have to pop that back into the Switch.
Does Deluxe have what? It has
the Mercedes DLC that they did for the Wii U, which I think it does.
It does. It's all in there. But it's unlockable, most of it. Like I had at some point I unlocked one of the Mercedeses, but I don't think I have the SUV yet. But all that stuff that came in that you just got as part of the DLC, now it's in the rotation with all the other.
Well, that one was a free DLC, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember right. That one was.
Yeah, it was.
Because it's a free advertisement, so.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I could see them getting more on board with more stuff like that. I get this feeling that Splatoon 2 is not the hit on Switch that it was on the Wii U. Like that for some reason it's just not taken over or doing as well as I thought it was going to do.
Because Nintendo fans have different expectations than normal gamers, and that their expectations.
And there's other stuff to play. That helps too.
You know what? That is true. Splatoon really dropped into a desert and was an oasis. Yeah. And here it was kind of at first, right? But as even somebody at Nintendo said, I think, I haven't touched Splatoon since Super Mario Odyssey came out. I think one of the devs from Splatoon said something about that or whatever. I don't remember who said it, but yeah, it's like I think a lot of people like they've moved on. There's so much new stuff to play, and for a Nintendo fan that's never had this much stuff, it's like, wow, what else is there? And they're just looking for the next thing to play. And for somebody who's coming from another console, I feel they look at Splatoon with its kludgy, friend joining interface and that kind of stuff and kind of blow it off. I think for some people,
much mocked voice chat
and the lack of voice chat. I think there's a certain class of, people coming from other consoles and PC that look at Splatoon as, okay, that's cute, but just couldn't get too deep into it because of some of these things that they consider to be, which really are flaws because they're features that just are so far behind other. You know what I mean? I genuinely think that's part of the turnoff. I think that Splatoon would be a much bigger game on Switch if it had much more modern multiplayer features than it's got.
Yeah. And there's no exploding body parts or blood.
I don't think that's a necessity. I you know what I mean? Like if you look at some of the games that get really big on Steam and some of the indie games, you know what I mean? Some of them really are totally benign, clean, just really, really fun and, really creative and well done. And I think that, I think Splatoon can transcend a lot of that. There's plenty of room for aggression in Splatoon, even if it's,
you can just squid bag them.
Even if it's not flying body parts, it can still be plenty aggressive and there's plenty competitive spirit. So I think, you know what I mean? I think there's enough people that would cross over, but it's just the kludginess of it. The fact again that when I would go in, it's like I can see it shows me that I've got 8 people on, 8 friends, and it gives me no frigging indication of where you guys are, what you guys are doing.
Yes.
And I have to go hunt around and figure out, oh, are they in here? And if they're in here, then I have to contact them separately to have them create a room that I can join. Or, I mean, you know what I mean? It just, like the whole thing with the with Grisco, right? It's like, come on, man. Just if there are 2 people playing Grisco, just let me friggin' jump in. Why is that so hard? And why is it so hard for me to?
You can do that on Grisco.
I thought on Grisco you had to be in a room where you would have X number of randoms, and I would have to contact them, and they'd have to open up a slot for me and make it not random anymore. Is that how that worked, or do they change it? Or am I just crazy?
Yeah, if I'm playing, we would have to open a room. You're right.
That's what I mean.
You can't just jump in, right?
Why can't I just jump in? Why is Turf War? Part of the reason I play Turf War is because that's the only mode that I can just do that, and it's super easy to just someone's playing, bam. Why can't I do that with everything else? Ranked, I understand. Grisco, there's no excuse.
And as I've brought up before about arms, it might be nice too if Spaltoon had a demo, something that you could, even if it was like a limited use thing, where you're like, hey, you can hop into turf battles 10 times, or
multi-part,
or the single player, whatever.
Well, you remember before the or at the start of one of the demo events, you could go in and like just play around in a room, and it basically goes through how the controls work.
The tutorial. Yeah, that's at the very beginning of the game. The first time you put in the game, it does that.
Yeah, a tutorial in the first few rounds of the single player would have made a perfectly good demo, I think, for Spaltoon. It's hard to give people a multiplayer experience in a demo. It's just hard to figure out how and where to limit that.
They did that global test fire thing.
That's what.
That's really exactly. The global test fire and test punch cover that. And as you said, Mo, in addition to that, they really should have had a basic single player demo of each of those. I would agree.
All right. So moving on.
Sounds like we ran out of steam there.
Yep.
Sorry. They definitely need, with such unique ideas, Nintendo needs to have more demos.
Yeah.
Demonstrate stuff like that.
We didn't need to continue it.
I don't think we talked too much about Splatoon, but that was just.
Go ahead, Jason.
All right.
You were saying.
Well, I'm going to throw it to a game that you've been talking about lately, which is NBA Playgrounds Enhanced Edition. This kind of has an interesting story as to how it got onto the Switch, or why it exists at all. I'll let you tell that story if you would like to.
Oh, that was a handoff to me. I figured I'd been talking too much lately. No, I guess I'm the only one that got it out of this group, huh? And I just bought it because a couple of my buddies had picked it up, and we'll play it online. No, we never did. It wasn't bad. It was right. It was kind of like NBA Jam. It was a cartoony, arcadey basketball game, which is the stuff I would tend to, as far as sports games goes, it's kind of stuff I gravitate towards anyway. And it's good. The mechanic's a little weird. There's a weird timing mechanic on the super moves and all that stuff that a lot of people, I think, have had a hard time with and have not liked. And I kind of agree. I'd rather have something that's more like a Street Fighter button combo, or something like Tricky, the old snowboarding games. But it works. It's not bad. It's fun. I put in a couple hours and messed with it, and just never got back to it because there's just so damn much stuff on Switch now. But then, so I found out about the patch, and it's like, oh, there's just a new version of the game on the eShop, and it's free for me. So, I'll download it. The first one was 9.6 gigs. The new one is 7.1. Hopefully that just means it's greatly optimized and isn't missing anything.
I think that was a big issue they had with Nintendo, is that it was, or with fans, I guess, is that it was such a huge file size.
Yeah, right. It was poorly optimized, and for what it is, what's the reason for that? So maybe they did just really clean it up.
Well, I actually heard the story apparently from the developers was that they had a patch that they wanted to do, and Nintendo wouldn't approve the patch. The patch was basically going to add some like extra playable cards, and was going to reduce the file size from like you said, like 9 to 7. And Nintendo also had some sort of weird rule where they don't allow any patch to reduce the file size.
So I don't know if it wasn't they just didn't allow it or if it just wasn't possible. I wasn't really sure from what I read.
From what I understood, it was something with Nintendo standards, since Mo's telling.
Yeah. That's what I recall, yeah.
It was something specific to Nintendo standards and it wasn't anything technical.
Okay. So they just said, well, we'll put out a new version then.
And it was just, it was, maybe it's like you can't release a patch that deletes anything. At least what I read wasn't they weren't real specific about, I mean, like, at least from my perspective, coming from a tech job and seeing patches go in and out all the time and knowing what the kind of, the standards are of that. So they weren't real specific about what it was that was disallowed, but at least anything that I read. But it just seems, I mean, again, it's Nintendo's seal of quality. This has been around since the very beginning. Devs have complained about having to jump through extra Nintendo hoops forever. And at the end of the day, though, usually we get a better experience. Although Mo is very fond of pointing out, how much crap is there on the eShop?
Yep.
Yeah. A lot.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if right? Well, certain things have that Nintendo stamp on them. Certain things Nintendo drops a launch video on YouTube, right? But they don't drop launch videos for the phone game ports usually. Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say one of the kind of points that the developer was making is that this patch has been ready to go. I think, was it from July? It was a long time ago, and they've been trying to work with Nintendo to come to some kind of agreement or workaround.
Well, they had issues when they tried to do the online.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't online for a while, and they said the patch is ready to go. We're just waiting for Nintendo's approval.
Yeah. Online was ready to go not long after the other consoles and was delayed. Yeah, most of that delay was Nintendo's fault, from what I understood.
Yeah,
but people are going to get some Shaq Fu out of that one.
I'm excited for that. I'm far more excited for Shaq Fu than I was for freaking NBA Playgrounds. Yeah, no, I'm fired up that I get Shaq Fu out of the deal.
By the way, if you haven't picked up the game, but you've maybe been thinking about it, it is on sale for at least a little while for half price. It's $9.99.
Yeah. If anybody has any passing interest, I think it's quality. It's got a legit big NBA roster for folks that are into that kind of thing. It's and especially now, I presume this new patch is an even more polished version of what I had played before, but it seemed like a quality game. I mean, you know what I mean? For a $20 download, it seemed like I was a little surprised they didn't try to squeeze more out of me for it.
It seems like $10 is the new price too. It doesn't show up as being on sale. It shows up as just being $10.
In the article I read, it said it was limited time price.
Limited. Yeah.
Oh, is it? And as an interesting little bonus, it also is the most recently released game on the Switch now, since this is a completely different game. In recent releases, this is the top of the list right now as of today.
There's not even like a featured section yet, is there?
No, there's nothing.
That's a joke.
I'm still really surprised that they didn't do a Christmas update.
I know it had no Christmas music, no special holiday theming in the
no music of any kind.
No music. Yeah, man.
Yeah. They didn't even redo the colors in red and green or anything.
Bah humbug.
Yeah, seriously, PlayStation has more personality than they do right now.
I'm sorry. Every time I think about this no personality eShop, I think about Kimishima's face.
Totally.
Ooh, I want that as a downloadable theme.
totally. Versus, please understand. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. This is a completely. I agree, and I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily him saying strip all character from the company whatsoever, but I think he's a symptom of that, wherever that mindset is coming from.
Yep.
Yeah. You imagine Iwata being like the Patch Adams guy who jumps in. He's like, let's get some color. Let's get some music. Let's get some blah, 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 blah. And this guy's like, I don't care.
Yeah. I imagine he's the guy that wanders through the office and does something goofy that, the employees might think is stupid. Iwata
tells you that your drinking cup is not to code.
Yeah.
Is that an approved container?
That's 32 ounces.
Yeah, he's the one that like flips a quarter on the back of your desk chair to see that it's properly, firm enough or whatever.
Yeah.
Poor guy. You want originality on you fire.
Yeah. It's surprising that they haven't done anything.
Holiday themes don't make money is all I can think of. Him saying.
That's why they're giving them away on My Nintendo.
That's right.
Can I just, because I haven't in months, can I bitch about the fact that they charge $8 for matching Joy-Con grip slots, or the little thingies for the wrist straps?
You mean the wrist straps?
Yeah. Right. The fact that they charge, like, you get a black one, but if you want a matching one, we're gonna charge you for that. The old Nintendo, you would have just got the frigging matching one in the box.
Yeah.
That's really
it bothers me more that when you buy them, you're buying them individually and they're not sold as a pair.
Oh, the straps themselves? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
$8 a piece. Not even, there's no deal on two. Are you kidding me?
Well, that kind of makes sense a little bit because you've got the red one, you've got the blue one, and maybe you want, it could be where you'd want different colors.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
But still,
maybe they should sell a red and a blue one to go with the red and blue sets.
Whoa.
You would think they would sell a box.
Or a double yellow.
Yeah, you'd think they would sell a box at a discount. Yeah, that was a matching, that matched a pair that they sold.
But yeah, they should just come in the box.
That should be, for $80, you should have that.
That's extra.
That's right. Wow. So we did get a bit of news this week on a new trademark filed by Nintendo, and that's for 1080 snowboarding. Something we haven't seen in a long time. Is anybody a fan of 1080?
I did not spend much time with it, to be honest. I had a friend who was a big fan.
Okay.
I think I played it on, I might have it on Wii Virtual Console because I had a friend who was really into it and was like, you got to get that. But I don't think I spent much time with it. But I know it. I remember it being a thing. Like it did well.
When was SSX big and tricky and all that? Was
at the same time?
Yeah.
Like
was it?
I think it kept 1080 from being a thing. I think SSX did a lot.
Yeah.
Was the more popular of the two.
I played a lot of that, of course, and that was because that was cross console when Nintendo's console wasn't. See, that's the thing, is Nintendo's console was the also ran by that generation. By the N64, they were already bringing up the rear, or at least they weren't. They were behind PlayStation at least. So it just anything that was Nintendo exclusive was something that not as many people played just by default.
When was the last 1080 game? Was that GameCube?
I was trying to think. I think they did do one for the GameCube.
Yeah, I think so. I always looked at it and I thought, this game looks interesting. And, they made it look fun. And I thought, I've looked at it in the game case, but I've never bought it. So
it's, I don't know if it's just they're just renewing stuff or if that means we're going to. Maybe that'll be one of the non-traditional titles that we end up getting. Like that seems like a game that would be good for. Those are the kind of titles I would like to see as like eShop releases, where they don't try to make a full retail push for it, and they're just like, hey, here's a neat little $20 snowboarding game.
So you mean that
mobile game?
Are you meaning it should be like a lighter version of the game, or just it should be released at a discount?
Probably not even a lighter version, just released at a discount. I don't know that they can make it a snowboarding game much lighter. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. It's not like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like those games were huge and had a lot of different things and levels and challenges. I think it was basically just you do tricks, right?
Wait, did they make a
downhill.
1080 for the Wii with the board?
No,
Didn't they make a
but there
snowboarding
was.
game?
You're thinking Wii Fit.
The Wii Fit board?
Yeah, you think.
Oh, there was just a snowboarding game in Wii Fit. There was no snowboarding
Was there?
specific game for it. Because there was a Tony Hawk game that did use the Fit board, as I remember.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or it had its
Sorry,
own skateboard, I think. Yeah.
Oh, there
Like
was
its own
that.
skateboard controller. Yeah.
That thing was sweet. Anyway,
Probably not. But yeah, that
in the
was
same way
that's
that
a
the Super Scope was sweet, right?
that's one of those nobody would be thinking about 1080 had they not
the
reviewed
power
the thing.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I never see that on the when they're getting ready to announce a direct or a E3. Give us 1080.
I did a.
was 10. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say I just did a quick look just to make sure we were right on when the last one was released. It was
2003.
It was actually re-released in 2008 on the Wii's Virtual Console. So they've already done a Virtual Console type or online only type version.
I thought they did the Nintendo 64 version. I think is the one that came out on Wii. Yeah, I think I might have it. I'll have to double check. But yeah, whatever. It's one of those titles.
Yep.
That you forget Nintendo owns.
Still, it's not a bad one to bring back.
No,
they're mining deep for the nostalgia, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, no F-Zero, no. I guess I got Metroid.
It could be Nintendo 64 Classic confirmed.
Oh. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. It's hard to say that stuff.
They're giving us the games we didn't even know we wanted.
Well, I would expect Wave Race before 1080.
And it could have also just been
think of that game too.
It could have been a license that was ready to expire and they just needed to renew it or something. You know what I mean?
They seem to be renewing stuff quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
Although Wave Race would have some competition from that Riptide Renegade that's on sale in the shop. Which I can't believe nobody bought for $5 or whatever it is.
Did you?
No. Please. Yeah.
So
that's a Z pickup.
Well, me? No.
Well, going back to Kimishima, so he apparently has done another interview, or part of an interview that was released before, but he was talking about the Super Mario movie, and he's kind of clarified some on it. So apparently they are not partnered with Illumination Entertainment as was originally thought. He's confirmed that's not confirmed.
I'm glad.
They kind of got that they were still searching for someone and trying to figure out someone to work with. And of course, Nintendo wants their hand in it and they want to supervise it. So,
yeah. But they made that mistake before of not supervising.
Right. Well, can't really blame them. But he says as soon as 2020, we can have a Super Mario movie.
Yeah. Do we even want it then?
I don't want it now.
No.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not. It's. I don't know. I've changed my mind on the cereal because it is actually kind of tasty, but I just don't see how a movie's gonna win me over that way. I don't think the movie.
But it's also not for us. Like. I don't know when the last time you tried watching the Super Mario Show cartoon.
But it was terrible back when it came out. I think I was old.
My daughter loves it.
Realize that? Oh, really?
Yeah, my daughter watches that, and she watches the Sonic cartoon as well, and she loves them. So I'm sure she would love a Mario movie.
Your daughter's of that age though, where that kind of stuff, like she'll be into for a minute, and then she'll immediately grow out of it and decide, hey, this is crap. Like when she's 4, she'll be like, "Wow, I liked crap when I was 3."
No, she still is. She's been into it for about a year now. Like, it's not like an everyday thing, but if I'm flipping through Netflix and she sees that icon, she's like, "Super Mario, let's watch that." So I think that's who
is Lou Albino.
it's
Lou
for.
Albino's dead, isn't he?
Yeah, both him and the guy who played Luigi, whose name escapes me. Yeah,
But
they're both gone.
Yeah,
still
if that
making
movie
fans
came
of the
out
same
now,
age.
my kids would totally be into that movie right about now.
An animated Mario. It's like that's dollar signs. I'm just glad that the Minions people aren't the ones making it, or at least aren't confirmed for it, because that's pretty lowbrow stuff. Although I don't know how highbrow a Mario needs to be.
Nintendo might be afraid of letting Disney in, but that would be their smartest choice. Pixar.
Yeah.
Nobody says digital 3D movies, like the modern 3D, right? They are the king of that modern 3D animation. That's who Nintendo should go with. Sorry, Jason.
I was just going to say, if we were concerned about this kind of being an embarrassment to Nintendo or just something that's totally garbage or something, it's better that they're doing a movie than a TV show.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come out, it'll go, and it'll do what it'll do, and then it's done. Whereas if it's
you'll buy the toys, won't you?
Oh. No. I don't
A TV show gets canceled. Yeah, that's true. There's more bad PR in a TV show getting canceled than in a movie not doing well, or at least the PR drags out. The bad PR drags out longer.
Although when you talk about Super Mario movies, people still groan because of the first one.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
I wish Television Network would pick that up and replay it before the movie came out.
They should start. Netflix should pick up, make a TV show that's a sequel to the movie. They should just pick it up.
Still waiting for that Hulu. Super Koopa Cousins sequel.
Hulu, yeah, exactly.
It needs to be on Hulu though, so you can watch it on your Switch.
Yeah,
because that's the only streaming service. Are you friggin'? It's 2018. Where is Netflix? Come on. We all said for sure by Christmas all this stuff will be out. We were certain.
Yeah.
We were sure Netflix would be out by Christmas at least. Seriously, come on. There's no excuse for this business.
Well, hey, we saw the leak. It's on its way.
All I care about, I just want the same services that have been on the last three Nintendo. Well, 4 if you count the new 3DS. The last 4 Nintendo consoles. I just want those services, for God's sakes. How hard is that? Come on.
It's funny that it was it September, I think, that Netflix said it's all ready to go, and they're just waiting on Nintendo's approval or whatever. It's like, I don't know what the advantage, what strategic advantage Nintendo thinks they have
Hulu
by holding that back.
Money. I can't think of any other reason.
Yeah,
I can't think of any other logical reason that there's nobody else on there is because
they said the Nintendo Switch is hot right now, and we'll pay you a certain thing if you let us be your exclusive.
They were the first ones.
Thing. Yeah.
They were the first ones to say, hey, we think this is going to make money. I don't know, but Nintendo's got something going on with them. It's got to be because I can't think. There's no other reason.
People
is YouTube considered competition for them too?
It could be because they do have a paid service, but
I would say they look at any media stream as competition at this point. Hulu seems to not be doing as well as they were when they started out. Seems like
right now, if you want to watch videos on your Switch, that's the only way you're going to be able to watch videos. So maybe someone will be like, I guess I'll do the free trial since it's the only thing on the Switch.
I, oddly enough, by random chance, had just gotten suckered in because we have folks from overseas staying, a family that the in-laws come in all the time and they hang out and they sound they watch so much Netflix while they're here and all the other streaming services. So I had gotten suckered into the $5.99 a month for Hulu lately, which is it's $5.99 a month for the first year, which to me is funny when Netflix is raising their prices. Hulu is basically lowering them.
But Hulu also has
winning
ads,
right now.
Exactly. To help supplement that.
I'm surprised Netflix still.
True, but right, Netflix charges more. They're just a much more premium service now, whereas Hulu, well, I guess Hulu always aimed to be like the TV replacement, like the network TV replacement, whereas Netflix aims to be more like the cable TV replacement.
Yeah, they're becoming like their own network. It's like Netflix.
Yeah, they're their own. They and HBO are direct competitors at this point. They are providing pretty much exactly the same thing. The only difference is HBO has a TV channel. But otherwise they're pretty much in direct competition for modern media. It's a totally different playground than it was when you and I were growing up,
That's
Mo.
Although they don't have anything live yet. Like they don't have like HBO and Showtime have like boxing and stuff. They don't have any events like that where it's like you can live watch this thing or. But they do have like the comedy specials and stuff, which HBO and Showtime used to do.
Well, it seems like when does HBO get a big like they used to get big boxing matches, HBO. Now it seems like they don't get pay-per-view anymore. It's either it's pay-per-view and or some sports specific network pays a lot of money for it.
Yeah. But they get the replay rights a lot of times where it's like 2 weeks later you can watch the pay-per-view fight that everyone already knows the outcome of. Yeah. But I don't know. I'd love to see. I think we will see everything eventually come. We'll probably get HBO.
I'd
be surprised.
Switch.
I would like HBO. I would like Vudu, but I think all the media streaming, like, you know what I mean? Somewhere in the depths of a conference room in just about every one of these companies, there are guys sitting around a boardroom going, "Hey, there's this new console from Nintendo. We should be looking at, right? Are we going to be getting on that?" Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure this conversation is being had by every one of these companies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them, at least a fair amount of them, are going to opt. I mean, you know what I mean? I think we're going to see.
They're like, "Oh, we can't. They're Hulu exclusive."
Maybe, but
we can't touch them.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think we're going to see a lot more on this console than we have on the right. Every Nintendo console of the last 10 years almost. Yeah, like every Nintendo console last 10 years has had the same exact apps on it. What did they add? They added Crunchyroll on the Wii U and that terrible news one. Well, I wasn't that terrible.
And Rhapsody.
Oh, I forgot Rhapsody. That doesn't count though. That's just music.
I'm still wondering what they're going to do with their own stuff because, they dropped the Mario Kart TV effectively. They have added, in addition to screenshots, you can take little video clips now, but you'd think that would be better integrated with these other apps.
Okay, wait. Backtrack. Thanks for reminding me about that, Barry. On Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that 30-second clip thing works, right? That you can record 30-second clips in there now.
Yeah.
So where do you post that? Can you not post that to
Twitter
YouTube? You can only
post it on your Twitter or your Facebook?
But not YouTube. That's correct.
But not YouTube, yeah.
Now, I know Facebook, and going back to my stupid VR business, because Facebook owns Oculus. So when I go into the little Oculus store in my VR headset, they are pushing the Facebook video and Facebook, interactive.
Yeah, they're trying to become stuff. Like a YouTube.
Yeah, they're trying to push their own YouTube. So is there something going on here where they've got some, do they similarly like Hulu have some relationship to Nintendo where we'll let you post videos, you can post Facebook videos or Twitter videos, but there's something with Google they don't want to, I don't know. That seems really weird.
They've really been cracking down on YouTube recently as well.
That's what's weird is remember they Mo, you always had the good story about putting up posting from Mario Kart 8 on Wii U via their YouTube poster and immediately getting content struck by Nintendo for using their app to post a bit it was so idiotic. But it's
How dare I?
But I mean, what ended? What happened? Why did the relationship with YouTube end? Because this would be the easiest thing in the world to add back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, yet that feature is conspicuously missing.
Yeah.
But
they act YouTube like they're sweet on Twitch. They don't have a Twitch app, but they act like they're sweet on Twitch.
Yeah, they do. They do.
That they think it,
They do broadcasts on it. They'll use it as a marketing tool, but they don't want to integrate with it.
Right. Yeah. And
that's like saying, minorities
you
are
can't
fine.
crack
But
down on Twitch like you can on YouTube, right? Like they don't have the ability to content strike somebody on Twitch, right? Because you can stream Nintendo games on Twitch, I believe.
I thought they could request takedowns on that. I thought that somebody did get in trouble for that. Am I wrong?
I was thinking they did.
There was somebody that Twitch streamed, or maybe that was YouTube. That was YouTube, wasn't it? Where the guy had Odyssey that he got early. He had bought like a copy, a store broke. I thought
that was Twitch. Actually, that was yeah. That was the story I was thinking of, and I thought it was Twitch that he was.
I thought that was YouTube Gaming, because YouTube tries to compete with Twitch, and they have something called YouTube Gaming, which is similar, where you can live stream games. But either way, it's all coming. Just you wait. We've seen. We know.
By the way, I just feel like we need to say we love YouTube. If YouTube is listening, we love you.
Yeah, give us some money.
Yeah,
we do record all of our shows through YouTube, so
yeah, we're practically keeping the lights on over there.
That's right. At night light in somebody's office, maybe. Yeah. Well, moving on from that, we've got some interesting news this week regarding Game Boy. So Retrobit was coming out with Super Retro Boy, which was kind of a play on the original Game Boy. And I think they had this pretty much ready to go. And then Nintendo renewed their Game Boy patent, which appeared to only be for merchandise, but for some reason Retrobit just shut it down. And then as Barry pointed out today, Ultra Game Boy by Hyperkin is in development, and it's expected out later this year. And it's got some pretty cool features on it, but I don't know. Yeah. Weird stuff going on there.
At less than $100 too.
Yeah.
You know what? If that Ultra Game Boy had the ability to load ROMs or came with built-in games or had something like that, I would be totally into it. But as a cartridge-only unit, I got 2 old Game Boys because I picked up one for $20 several years back. Just to have a second one in good condition. Yeah. I have a Game Boy player for the GameCube. Like I got enough ways to play those. I'm not too terribly concerned about it.
The Hyperkin one has an adjustable backlight, stereo speakers, rechargeable battery.
It's fancy.
You can even record chip tunes through it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it said there was going to be like a weird musician tool that you can make your own chip tunes. So it is neat. And for less than $100, it's not bad. But yeah, there's not a strong desire out there probably to get into the Game Boy library. But if they did do a Game Boy Classic, I think all of a sudden there might be.
It would just be a hassle to hunt down cartridges for me. I mean, it's something that would be neat to play with if it came with, some of my favorite games and some new ones I hadn't tried yet, But as is, just as a player, even with the new features, I mean, having backlighting and stuff would be handy, but I don't think so.
Yeah, if you're an enthusiast, it's definitely a sure thing. I mean, if you have used local video game shops, like in my area, they just have like cardboard boxes filled with Game Boy cartridges that you can just literally get both hands, elbow deep into, just churning the pile of Game Boy games that are like less than $2 or $3. And I'm sure if you want specific ones on eBay, the price is probably, I don't think it's super in demand right now, but it was kind of cool that they did it, but it's odd that one dropped and the other one seems to be ramping up.
Yeah, I mean, Retrobit's Super Retro Boy, I thought it was ready to go, and it had been announced some time ago. So I don't know what's going on with the patent stuff there.
It could be also down to how the technology was. Maybe one of them was almost an exact copy of Game Boy, and the other one does it somehow differently, so they had to change something.
Yeah, you know what? Like the 8-bit controllers, it's right. There were certain ones that were that looked just too much like Nintendo controllers.
So that might be what it is. There might have been something in that patent, especially doing the merchandise. It could have been something appearance-wise, even.
Yeah,
quite a bit different from what I remember.
Meh.
Meh.
We'll see. It'll come out. We won't buy one. But if you're into Game Boy, check it out.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool
Again,
stuff.
if it were cheap, if it were Nintendo official, and it had a way to load ROMs, like if they drop the thing and it's got an SD card slot and you can just load a bunch of ROMs in there and go, oh man, that thing will sell like hotcakes, and I will buy one.
I always thought a great idea would have been, and I had mentioned this years ago to one of my friends, and he thought it was the stupidest idea he had ever heard. I said, why don't they make it was basically an NES Classic. I said, why don't they make like an NES box or a Super NES box, and the only thing it does is it has online access to like a virtual console that you can buy and download the games, and then maybe it has a slot where it can also play the older games too. And like, I still think Nintendo could make money on that. Especially when you look at the NES Classic. What if the NES Classic was $40 instead of $80 and it didn't have any games on it, but you could download and pick and choose the games? Like, it seems like there's a market out there for that.
Yep.
Well, and that's something people asked for immediately when that thing came out. There's, immediately people are like, well, there's no online capability. There's no way to add games.
And then they found a way.
I mean, it could almost be like one of those 8-bit controllers. Just it's the whole console,
Yeah.
It acts just like it, and whenever we finally get the virtual console on the Switch, you could access the same virtual console,
Yeah. Of course, 8-bit does make an add-on too that'll hold your cell phone. So if
like
any
$8,
naughty people out there, if any naughty people out there might have a bunch of ROMs on their cell phone, you basically have.
You know what? And that said, it's perfectly there's some legitimacy for completely, like Sega and other companies are putting out like the Pac-Mans and a lot of old classic, a lot of old classic retro games on the phone, and they work great with that. I played Pac-Man with this little 8-bit controller before I uninstalled Pac-Man because it nagged me and wanted me to do daily crap, and it's like, no, dude, I downloaded it so I could just friggin' play Pac-Man. Thank you very much. I don't want to do all these weird quests crap.
It's like a Nintendo app.
Kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think there would be any market if Nintendo was just like, we're re-releasing the Game Boy, and it's just the actual Game Boy system, like
I think there would right now.
Do you think there would be hype and people would be into it and it would sell out in pre-orders and stuff?
Yes, they're totally, because you know what? There's a huge trade. Prices on all that stuff on eBay is going up. We should have stocked up more stuff than we've got, Mo. But people are really in the market for that kind of thing now in the way that we have been for years. Yeah. But now it's become kind of its own little mini industry. The fact that 8-bit which is still what I'm going to call them, the fact that they even exist, making products that are, I mean, again, I don't know where the legality is, and I don't know how the hell they haven't just gotten squashed under Nintendo's legal department. But the fact that there can exist a company that can produce like super high-end, nice, high-quality, complete old Nintendo controller ripoffs, like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's got to be the Famicom one is just gone off of eBay immediately. Yeah. I'm so pissed I didn't pick up one of those. Instead, I got
if you go on eBay. There's tons of Chinese companies that put out lots of low quality versions of Super NES and NES controllers.
That too, and I'm sure they're getting bought up left and right. You see them all over eBay. People buy them for their PCs all the time and their phones. So yeah, I mean, there is a substantial market out there, and I think Nintendo just barely dipped their toe in it with the NES Classic and the Super, and people just lost their stuff because we got. I just we got more family friendly people on here than we usually do. People lost it over those, and I think where Nintendo to jump into this market of reproducing their old original hardware. If you could buy a Nintendo branded original NES controller that's just the exact original NES controller but wireless, oh my lord, the runs on the brick and mortar stores, the websites that would go down for
or even one that just plugs into an original NES. Like,
fair enough. I mean, but really, I think a modern, like, I really like the idea of the wireless. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I like the idea of still a modern piece of hardware, but it's the exact, like, for your Switch, something that they can produce it as, and for Nintendo, they would produce it probably to only connect to a Switch, but people would immediately, and they actually, Switch uses like a standard Bluetooth format now, so I
right,
think it's reasonably compatible anyway. But right, they can produce it. People would just lose it for I would get a wireless version of every single controller. Right, I get a NES, a Super NES. I might skip the N64.
64, yeah.
I don't see any value in that thing with only one stick and the weird C-pad and the one trigger like that.
And the stick always breaks and gets loose.
Well, I would imagine they'd modernize.
They could fix that flaw. Yeah,
but I
remember Kickstarter.
I've seen retro ones. 8BitDo makes one, and there was that thing that was Hyperkin who was passing around that was like it had a screen on it. But
it was a N64 controller.
Yeah, to me that's like
you can stick the games into.
Of all the things that, like, why would you pick that one? Why?
Because you can.
I know.
Well, right. See, the thing is, we're old men, and there are people younger than us who are just now getting nostalgic for N64. That is the hot retro system right now.
Yeah, I heard
the Super NES and the NES are over.
That's the only controller.
64 time, baby.
That's the only controller that I would consider a step, like the only generation where they took a step back.
It was a fine controller until that stick went wonky on you. I got really into N64 like maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Like I kind of got nostalgic for it and was like, hey, I'm going to buy up a bunch of stuff. And I could never seem to keep enough controllers on hand. So I'd get like a newer controller, and then all of a sudden the stick would get weird, and I'd be like, oh, now I got to buy another controller. And then after a while, it was just like, screw this. I'm going to play.
You must really play the crap out of yours. My only problem was
Mario Party, man.
I smoked during that time. Oh, yeah, fair enough. I smoked during that time period, so all my sticks have like a brown stain on the top of them.
You sure that's from the cigarettes?
No, it could be from using them as anal toys.
There you go. Where else were we going tonight, Jason?
The N64 is where I sort of cut out. I was into the Nintendo and Super Nintendo pretty heavy, but then I was getting into school. The stuff that they were putting out for the Nintendo 64, it was when they really started to get into the 3D more than Star Fox, and it still looked like stuff I was making in my computer programming class. Like
exactly
the polygons.
Yeah. That was the thing is anybody who was into the PC era of gaming at that time looked at Super Mario and thought, "Are you kidding?" You know what I mean? It's Super Mario 64 and Star Fox. That was why I never got into Star Fox, because I looked at that on the Super Nintendo, and then looked at F117A on my PC, and it was just this light years difference.
Yeah, and those games still look
right.
Those games still, the looks wise, are arguably more dated than some of the NES and stuff. It's like,
yeah, I would agree.
Because it's almost like they were trying too hard. Or you get that feeling
because
like
it was a polished. The 2D era was polished by that point, whereas the at least the 16-bit era was. But whereas the 3D was just kind of this new thing that they were still trying to figure out.
All the hands are closed fists.
It's only the last generation or two that I've really thought the 3D has become polished enough that I can actually stomach it.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
everything looks
for
pretty
cartoony stuff, like once I actually sat down, somebody a buddy of mine actually loaned me his N64. We both worked at a software, etc. at the time, and he had picked it up at launch, and I had passed, and he was like, "No, dude, you really," he insisted I had to play Super Mario, so you just borrow it for the weekend and give it back to me on when we work together again on Sunday. And it was like 2 nights I was totally hooked, because it was the gameplay. Again, it was the Nintendo secret sauce, right? The game really didn't look like all that. It didn't look bad, but it didn't compare to anything I was doing on the PC, even with all their fancy, silicon graphics business. But it was still, once you sat down and started playing it, it just felt like the perfect way to translate. They really thought, how do you take this 2D game and translate it into 3D? And they just nailed it.
Yeah. I don't know. Star Fox is the pinnacle of the 64 for me.
Absolutely. That's kind of the point I was trying to get at earlier. I mean, yeah, they may have
I'm
been.
going to go look on Amazon right now to see what Star Fox 64 for the 3DS is.
It's a video game.
It's like $25.
Is it really? Okay.
When I sold
if it
mine
is,
on eBay like a year ago, I got like $25 for it, I think.
Used?
Yeah,
That sucks.
It's better than if it was new and sealed in the box.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. What's that going for now on?
But you can get the superior 3DS version now for the same
Wow,
price.
I see it used for. I see Star Fox 64 used for $12. The original Star Fox 64.
Pick it up, kids.
Star Fox 64 3D for 3DS.
Yeah.
$100.
Yeah, I've got that one physically, which they don't make anymore. Physical, I don't think.
Why?
It's even
Why
still
is
pricey
that
on the
the case?
eShop. That should be a
That's just-
select.
That should totally. It was a select.
It was
I
a
thought.
launch. It was a launch title. Or not, maybe not launch,
No,
They
but
just
not
chose that to be rare. That was one again. Star Fox just never was a thing for me, so I just passed on it. When like that's like the only like I bought
it's
every
short,
re-release.
but it's great. Have you ever played through the game?
No.
Oh my God.
I turned a blind eye to Star Fox since forever.
Something is wrong with you, man.
Yeah, you're killing me, Smalls.
We need to get
like
you
when
into Star Fox
this is
therapy.
worse than when you said you hadn't played through Turtles in Time.
Let me give you my Star Fox background. So I looked at the first one and thought this is crap because it was. I'm sorry. So was the first F-Zero. It was crap compared to what was available on PCs at the time. It was just a joke. N64 F-Zero
64.
Now that was a hell of a game, and maybe that means I should have given Star Fox a second look, but unfortunately I didn't. The next Star Fox that I took a look at was that one on the DS.
Assault.
Do you remember
Command.
Star Fox Assault?
Command.
No, Star Fox Command. Thank you. Star Fox Command was the next one I tried to play. Has anyone ever played Star Fox Command?
Yep, played it through, got the alternate endings. It is not a typical Star Fox game.
Yeah? Was it a good Star Fox game?
No.
Okay. So
there's only one good Star Fox game.
So that was the next Star Fox game I tried. And pretty much after that, I that reconfirmed what I had thought about, because I'd also tried the first Star Fox. So I either rented it or borrowed it or something, and was just like meh.
Star Fox 64 is that perfect magical experience where it's just right. And they've been forever trying to recapture that ever since. And especially there's a 3D version. You can experience that game in 3D that you love.
For $100 if I want the cartridge. So backtrack. If it goes for 20, if it drops down to $20 on the eShop, I'll nab it. I should. I'd like to, but I forgot. So after Star Fox Command, I gave up on Star Fox almost completely until I finally decided to give Star Fox one more chance.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Anything with that.
With the fabulous Star Fox Zero.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, that's better
so
than
those
Adventures.
Those are my three experiences with Star Fox. So
you're just a victim of circumstance.
If there's a good Star Fox out there, I missed the memo.
There's only one.
I've apparently picked the winners of all of them.
I played and enjoyed the first Star Fox. It was a tech demo, but it was enjoyable enough for me at the time.
Yeah,
a tech demo is a tech demo is a great description of that. Sorry, go ahead, Mo.
I was probably 12 or 13 or maybe even younger when. That's probably about right when the Star Fox came out for Super Nintendo, and like I remember that at the time it was like this is cutting edge console graphics, and for as bad as it was, you could kind of overlook that at the time, and I thought it was okay. I still own it for Super NES. But the 64 one is they got everything right. It's like it's a short game, or it can be a short game, I guess. but it's a great game.
The 64 one and Ocarina of Time are two games that, again, they fell in that area with the early 3D stuff that I completely ignored. And I picked them up again on 3DS they were early 3DS titles with refurbished graphics and whatnot. And I thoroughly enjoyed them at that point. Spruced up portable.
I got a buddy of mine at work that says once a year he plays through Ocarina of Time. And when he loves the new 3DS version. He said when that came out, he switched to playing that one every year.
It fixed some of the issues. I think
that's like a thing for him. Yeah, he's very much into that. For some people that game is it. I picked it up on the 3DS because I bought the little one that came with the fancy Zelda 3DS, and I got about as far as I did in the original game before I got bored and quit again.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I had a friend who actually gave it to me because he was like, "You have to play this. I'm giving you my copy." And it's
like for certain people that just love RPGs, and it's just no matter how hard I try, Pokemon does not count. No matter how hard I try, I cannot get into RPG.
Just out of curiosity, do you have the Star Fox amiibo?
Fox McCloud, Falco.
The two from Smash. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Did they ever release? They didn't release amiibo for Zero, did they? I thought they were going to release.
No.
Everyone was expecting a Peppy and a.
There was talk that remember Miyamoto had said something like he wanted to make an actual R-wing amiibo.
Oh, they were going to make a transformable R-wing amiibo.
Like a transformer. Yeah.
That would have been awesome. Except that the game was crap. They could have at least completed the team. For God's sakes.
Well, they'll wait and
Flippy Toad amiibo.
I would. Go right next to your Waluigi.
Flippy Toad is far superior to Waluigi.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Peppy hair.
I disagree. Wario and Waluigi to me, those are two favorites. I like those.
Our local Best Buy, I think, has a plush Waluigi right now.
I actually saw a plush Fox McCloud. I'll have to post a picture of that sometime.
Yeah, I think I did too.
I was like, what's this? Yeah.
They've got those World of Nintendo figures going now. They're starting to make some stuff. But yeah, if anyone says that they like Star Fox, it's that they like Star Fox 64. And that might just be the only one that they like, but that's good. That one's good enough. It's the Mario 64 of Star Fox games.
It's better than Mario 64.
I'm going to keep it. I really hope they do a super clearance fire sale on the eShop before the 3DS goes away.
It seems like it was just on sale not too long ago, but I don't remember how much it was. I don't think it was that deep. But
I think it was like $25, but it's been 20.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway.
Bastards. I just got to pick it up used, maybe.
Maybe we should move along.
Maybe we should reel it back into the topics we were going to discuss tonight.
Thank you for joining us for our Nintendo 64 discussion.
That's right. All right. Fake news. As promised in the opening, we have had fake news everywhere this week. As I said, almost everyone that has thought of it has made some kind of off-branded Nintendo account saying the Direct is coming then. It's just been crazy. But we did get one piece of possible fake news that was quite interesting, and that was a video of Switch version 5.0. Had themes, cloud saves, party chat, everything we've asked for just about.
The perfect wish list. That's why we knew it had to be fake.
That's sad, but really true.
It had everything that other consoles have. We knew it couldn't be real.
Especially for it to be all at once. But yeah, I think a lot of the stuff is stuff that is coming at some point. But I'm pretty sure that's a fake, yeah. And they've kind of exposed all the fake stuff about it, like the Mario Kart file size was incorrect. They had a downloaded Mario Kart game and it was the wrong file size, and the Legend of Zelda had a different G than the actual G that they used for the game. So there were like little things, but yeah, it was really well done. It reminds me of
Oh.
God, was the last good one like that the Smash one? Where they were trying to like show extra fighters in Smash. I think somebody had done like a mock-up a while back.
Which language was it in?
Well, it was in English. The text was English anyway.
Yep.
But the poster was the one who posted it.
The original poster was US. It was English, and then that video was somehow taken down, which I think might have been part of the fake. That he might have just taken his video down, like, oh, Nintendo must have, ripped this away from us. Now we know it's real. But I think that was just part of his thing.
I just remember clicking on the link you posted, and like
the one I posted was Spanish, and that's because the original one had been taken down.
I don't know. I mean, it didn't look like Spanish. It looked like Portuguese, or yeah, something like that.
Look at you.
Could have been.
It might have been. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but yeah, the one I sent was just because the original had been taken down already, so I just sent one that was available. But yeah, it looked really well done, and of course there's other news rumors in the air. I don't know. Does anyone have anything to say about the firmware really, other than it looked great, but it's probably not going to happen? Is anybody on Team Real versus Team Fake?
I think if it was real, something would have happened more than just the video disappearing.
Yeah.
I think it would
just pushed it out.
It was too perfect to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it had Netflix, it had cloud saves, it had chat rooms or whatever lobbies.
Party really easy
set up for your friends. Yeah. Folders you could switch around. Had the Zelda theme, background theme. Had you could swap the order of your icons. Everything we've bitched about for a year. Yeah.
Yeah, everything we've dreamed of was in that
video. They must be fans.
That's right. Totally.
Yeah, it was. I think just based on the fact of how reasonable it was, we knew it couldn't be true. It was like I said, I don't think it would be amazing if Nintendo dropped everything you wanted in a lump sum like that. I just don't think. I think they'll continue to drip feed everything, and maybe we'll have all that stuff in 5 years.
Yeah, maybe.
What do we think? I was going to just move on and say, what do we think about the Direct now? January 11th is a couple days. Is it any way possible?
It's always possible.
Yeah.
Because they've done that before where they've said, like, tomorrow. So, like, we record on Tuesdays. So tomorrow's Wednesday. They could possibly say, and it's coming on Thursday. Because they've done that before. Like remember when the Switch got revealed? They were just like, there's going to be some news tomorrow. And that happened like late at night, didn't it? Like it was like 7:00 at night, and all of a sudden, Nintendo's just like, information about the new Switch system comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, it just exploded on Twitter.
So yeah, that just kind of hit out of nowhere. So this could happen, although, oh, man, I don't know. It's like I kind of feel like Nintendo's watching, and they're just gonna push it to the end of the month just to be jerks.
I was going to say that. Does anybody think that all these rumors and all the fake news going around is, and making Nintendo say, we're just going to drop this back a bit just to make sure no one is correct? Kind of.
Maybe. They'd hate to validate a leak like that, but yeah, if Twitter has just been a war zone of fake Nintendo Direct announcements all week of just everybody trying to psych each other out by retweeting fake Nintendo Direct announcements from Nintendo of Alabama or or other places.
I think it's pretty safe to say at least once during this whole Twitter war, we've all seen one and thought it was the legit thing, right?
And they're like, oh, is this the thing? It's like, no.
Finally.
Yeah. You had to get the first one out of the way before you were just like, I'm not going to believe anything else ever. this point, when Nintendo sends it, I'm still going to double check on a few news sites before I bite. But Nintendo's been kind of playing the game too, because they had retweeted a tweet of theirs today that had the bird from Odyssey, the parrot, that says like, "Aha, I know a secret," and they did a Kirby post today that was like, got a little free time on your hands, play the new Kirby game. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're still in the same sad boat we were, where there's really nothing I have to look forward to right now on Switch, other than like Wolfenstein or something like that. But
has anyone seen any of this news or predictions or anything that they think may be real?
Yeah, that one.
Somebody had
one
that one I posted the other day.
Momo posted that looked the most real. Said, was it a Fire
It was
Emblem?
just like, yeah, it was all kind of boring. It was like,
yeah,
I said, well,
it sounds just like a direct.
Yeah, it's like, that sounds exactly like a direct. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, Jason and Max would love a new Fire Emblem.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even remember what all was in there. But it was just like, oh, one of the things was pink Joy-Con are coming is to be sold separately as a pair. I'm like, that would make sense because everybody wants the greens.
Yeah.
So they would put out just the pinks. I could see them doing it. There was a push a few years ago where Nintendo had said that they were going to start more actively marketing to females. So I could see them being like, we're going to put out pink because girls like pink, right?
Wrong.
That sounds like Nintendo catering to what they think the female crowd would want. Because when they did that, by the way, was there a Nintendo Girls channel or something on YouTube? I remember there was something and it was awful. It was like, did you know we've got a Barbie game? Do you like ponies? Yeah. But
it was
I don't know
interesting
what to expect. Yeah, I remember that a few years ago. But I don't know. It's hard to say what to expect. Like I said, whatever sounds the most boring, I'm willing to believe. We're in that awkward pre-E3 time now, where they don't want to drop any bombshells, but at the same time, like, this is kind of the time of the year where they just say, hey, here's a couple things to get you through until E3. So we know there's stuff coming. We know Bayonetta. I think Bayonetta 1 and 2 are confirmed for February, I believe. So we know those are coming, so they'll talk about that. And Kirby's coming, so they'll talk about that. Yeah, I think we'll get some sort of news. I just don't know when. But it's funny watching everybody blow up on Twitter because people are angry. there's some guy I saw on the tweet that was like, it has to happen on the 11th. I already asked for the day off from work. So, damn it, Nintendo, this is serious.
Just watch it at work.
I know.
How long do you think it will go if Nintendo doesn't announce anything soon? How long do you think it will be before the fans start getting really salty?
Oh, I don't know. They might already be there. Check their latest tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's getting out of hand. I think come the 11th, people are going to flip out. But hopefully Nintendo says something. Like I said, I had joked earlier that Nintendo almost needs to start announcing when they're going to make an announcement. just to beat the leakers and the rumor people. Just be like, hey, we're going to announce when the next direct is on this day.
It would be nice in a way if they had a regular schedule and you could just say,
yeah,
it's coming, at this time. But
yeah, well, just like how they have their stock investors thing in March at the end of the quarter, it'd be nice if they were just like, on the 15th of January, we're going to have a direct. On the 15th of, whatever, April, we're going to have another direct. And just have a set schedule where when they're going to give you stuff. I don't know how other companies work. I don't pay attention enough to PlayStation and Xbox to know how they get their information out. But Nintendo's probably the only one that does it as an event, and we expect it to be an event. Like, the PlayStation doesn't just say, hey, here's a PlayStation Direct where we're gonna tell you a bunch of stuff. At least
they save it all up for like the trade shows and stuff. But you're right.
But with Nintendo, we look forward to it. It's like a little mini holiday.
It really is.
Part of it is just hearkening back to an older era where companies did their own internal marketing, you know?
Yeah. But Iwata's really the king of the Direct, right? Like he's the one that kind of started that and was like, let's be more open and actually talk directly to our fans.
Well, true, but to me the Direct really feels very much like an extension of the original Nintendo Fun Club newsletter.
Yeah.
And Nintendo Power and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? It really it felt like that same kind of vibe. And still
they made it fun. They made it interesting. They, it had its special sauce or whatever they call it.
Yeah, exactly.
They have little stupid skits with Bill Trennan and Reggie. And
exactly. Sometimes they're stupid, but people are still talking about whatever when they it's a level of fan engagement that the other companies don't have, and here and there I've seen them attempt to replicate it, but they just can't because as Barry just said, it's that Nintendo secret sauce.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm waiting. We know it's going to be sometime this month, or we think we know.
Just like we knew that they were going to release Breath of the Wild DLC before the end of the year.
Yeah,
they showed us on that one.
That's true. They did say it was coming this year, or last year, I guess. Now.
What were we going to say, Barry?
Did it ever. Yeah, sorry.
Just for me, it's been a bit of a different experience too, because the big drivers for me with regard to the Switch was Splatoon 2 in year one, and looking forward, probably the next big one that's going to be really exciting for us is the Pikmin. These aren't the number grade A titles that are grabbing most people's attention.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
although Splatoon is getting up there, and I'm a huge Pikmin fan.
But also, Mo, you have jumped quite well. Both of you guys have jumped on the Rocket League bandwagon, and Mo, you had a good time with Doom and sort of double dipped on it, if you call it that. It's one of many games that you've said you weren't going to buy and or rented first, and then decided, okay, I just got to pick this up. At
least I got 20% off.
but for you, I mean, it's not like I would bet there's something that's coming along before Pikmin that you're going to go like, hey, I never thought that'd be on a Nintendo console either.
Yeah, well, and Rocket League is really the kind of like surprise interim game for me, where I was definitely interested in it and was like, yeah, I'll probably pick that up when it comes out. But I've gotten more time out of it than I thought I would, so that was a pleasant surprise for me.
How many 100 hours are you up to now?
300-ish.
Yeah.
I'm in the Splatoon 2 ballpark.
How many loot boxes have you opened?
I have not bought any loot boxes in almost a month now, but
They're super. I love how he starts out. I have not bought any loot boxes.
Yeah. No, I probably put in $15 into loot boxes.
It's not so bad.
So it's not horrible. And I've got $35 sitting in my eShop account just waiting for something good, and
Eric, say the number for us again.
Netflix.
828.
Yeah.
But Eric's got a ton of credit too. Yeah, you've spent you bought some loot boxes, right, Barry? You're with me.
You bought, Barry.
Oh.
Probably closer to $20 range, but it's not a game that jumped out to me immediately as something I wanted to pick up, but it's something that had some legs to it already, something new to Nintendo platforms that I thought I'd like to try, and it turned out to be fairly fun. And I still haven't tried most of the features.
The modes. And it's also it's family friendly.
We'll point out that Barry prefers hockey mode to all others.
Yeah. Oh, it's his duty as a Canadian.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I find it an easier entry point because there's not as much air game, and it's easier to maneuver on the ground. So
yeah.
Familiarity is king.
We just kid you on that, but it's a family friendly one that the kids can get involved with too. And
yeah, it's really, when it comes down to it, any kid that played soccer can immediately figure out what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Or a racing game. Yeah.
Or that too. I mean, it's good crossover. It's totally, it's as non-violent as it gets. It's right. It's about as wholesome and fun a sporting game as you can get without being a real sporting game. And one might argue it's much more wholesome than fun than, endless microtransactions to build out your roster of current season players and that kind of business.
And also, can you think of any other game for $15 or $20 that packs that much game in? Like for price to hours ratio, that's gotta be my winner.
But how much game is there? I mean, when it comes down to it, it's pretty.
Endless.
Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying I'm not in any way, detracting from it. I'm just saying it's a pretty simple concept. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It still feels very indie. It's a simple concept. It's a basic idea, but they nail it. It's, there's nothing super, and they have a bunch of neat modes to it, of course.
Yeah, there's a basketball mode, there's a hockey mode.
Yeah. But it's nothing super fancy. It's just they have a really good basic concept, and they just really polished it up nice. And to me, like $20 is really just super smart business, because they just want it's one of those things that's accessible to everybody. And
you don't mind buying loot boxes when you've only put so much into it. You're like, oh well, I would have paid this much for this game for as much as I'm getting out of it. So
exactly, that's a very good point. Like, they could almost
it's like a tip jar.
They can almost take it free to play. Yeah, tip jar. Yeah, fair enough. But it's also
different when you're buying a full $60 game and then they want you to buy DLC on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. $20 out the door is just cheap enough to be kind of an impulse buy to see what the buzz is about. People seem to really like it. I'll drop $20 to mess with it.
It's
if I got a
still
friend
number one bestseller this week in the eShop. So
and yet for some reason at $20, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 still outsold it. It's just mind-boggling.
Well, that's for not in the long run it won't.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I guarantee I still don't think that's accurate.
Will drop off considerably. Xenoblade Chronicles probably.
Nintendo a liar.
I am. I will call them to their face.
I think they have some creative number management, but I'm sure Xenoblade. Right? It's like, depending on your time slice, depending on if you only count the first 10 months, then Switch outsold this and that. But if you count the first 12 months, then it didn't quite outsell. You know what I mean? It's like you can do all sorts of creative things with statistics. So I think what the deal is with Xenoblade is probably a lot of people bought it on launch, and probably nobody else will.
Well, like I said, you also have to remember that sales just mean units sold to stores. So Amazon could have a few. Yeah, no, sales means units sold to stores, not units actually in customer hands.
On a side note, because
Amazon's got a warehouse full of Xenoblade somewhere.
Probably, but on a side note, because I mentally jumped a few layers to this, but ARMS probably similarly sold, great its first week and then immediately dropped off. But on a related note, ARMS back to digital versus physical. ARMS is another one, man. That if I had the digital version, I would have put 3 times as much time into that game and maybe actually gotten into it to, you know what I mean, as opposed to just kind of messed with it here and there.
I read an article about ARMS this week saying that it has a small but dedicated fan base.
Dedicated is right if you ever go online, man.
That are trying to get the competitive scene going. And they said that I forget what the big esport thing is that they do every year. I can't remember the name of it right now. But yeah. Evo? And they said it was the like the least watched and the least participated event at Evo.
Does Rocket League have a physical release?
It's getting a physical release. It's going to be more money.
It's not on No wonder it's not on the list, and they didn't ship any units to any stores then.
Yeah, they might, and they might not. Well, they did count digital though, because Stardew was there. So I don't know. Maybe that list just wasn't prepared at the right time. I don't know. Like I'm sure Rocket League is probably coming up on being the best-selling game on the Switch. You don't be number one in the eShop since like October.
Zelda though,
without moving a ton of units. Yeah, although Zelda's even dropped off with, I think Odyssey's beating Zelda.
And bear in mind, I don't know what the attach rate is for like Steam users to Rocket League, but that is probably pretty high. Like
they said that Rocket League said that they now have 40 million, or was it 40 or was it 400 million? I can't remember what 40 sounds more reasonable. Yeah, but it could be either. But
worldwide, yeah, I guess 40 does sound more reasonable. But that's still a hell of a lot of people.
Yeah,
that's
40 million
Switches period.
And they had said in August,
3 years.
In August they had hit 36. I think.
Or 2 anyway.
So I'm pretty sure that a good number of those new Switch Rocket League players are people who've got experience with it elsewhere, because some of the rookies you see are pretty experienced.
Yeah. That's the whole fun of having it on a new console. You can be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm new," as you fly and do backflips through the skies, never losing contact with the ball. But yeah, it's a. I'm hoping that there's some more surprises. I'm pretty sure Hollow Knight is confirmed for the Switch, which is an indie.
I think so.
I wonder if we'll get that Super Hot game. That looks interesting. That's the one where time moves when you move. I would love in a few years for us to get Cuphead whenever it stops being console exclusive.
What's it console exclusive to right now?
Xbox right now. We'll get it on stuff it'd just be fun to play. But as far as indie games, I'm sure we'll see a ton of stuff this year.
Ton of trash.
Like I said, I don't. Oh, I think didn't the little fake direct thing that I had also said GTA 5, which I think is totally feasible by the end of the year. Yeah, I think I was at the very bottom. Feasible. But I completely see that. I think we will get a GTA.
I think we should too.
There's no reason not to. There's a huge untapped audience, and then a huge audience of people that have played it before that are just like portable GTA, and it's the full game, just like people do with Skyrim.
That sort of leads into our final topic for tonight. I posted a very nice article that Max sent to me on Twitter. So if you are following us on Twitter, be sure and check it out. But it's basically saying, has the Switch set a new standard for video game consoles that they now must be hybrid? Will Sony, will Microsoft go hybrid?
Yeah, they also mention where the article was from.
That's right. It was from a PlayStation site, bragging about how wonderful the Switch was. And then at the end of the article, they said, I do not have a Switch, and nor will I buy a Switch. But good on them.
Yeah. I think for Nintendo, the answer is maybe. I mean, probably. I don't know if I think Nintendo is, at this point, it's been a hit. It is a hit. I don't see Nintendo ever separating their handhelds from their consoles again. Unless they decide at some point they want to become a powerhouse, which they're obviously, they've proven ever since the GameCube generation ended that they don't have any interest really in being the most powerful console out there. So,
I mean, it's continuing a trend that's been going on for a while. I mean, it's one step up from the Wii U. The Wii U had the off TV. You could carry it around the house. Now you can carry it outside of the house. So that's a step up. Yeah. But even with the 3DS, like I mentioned before, you had these older home console previous games that you could now take with you. With things like the Star Fox and the Ocarina of Time. It's just an extension of that.
Yeah. And right now it's so novel to. I think, like the article had said, it's like you're playing the same game, portable and handheld. There's no difference in quality. It's not a knockoff version. Like we've always had, the 2D Mario on the handheld, and then the 3D Mario on the console, and now it's like the experience you have is the experience you have. And even though I don't use both modes very often, it is nice to have.
I think there are a lot of people who do, though.
Yeah, I think there are.
I've heard a lot of people even just, like, commute to work and things, like playing at home and then take it with them. So I think it's made more of an impact than perhaps.
I'm still too scared that I would never trust to take it out like that. But I guess if you get a good case and you've got a way to transport it. Barry, would you ever take your Switch on the bus?
I don't know. I've toyed with the idea, but I've never taken it out of the house yet. I could see taking it on a car trip with the family if we were going to be out for long drives across the country or something.
The wife and I used to bust it out at restaurants when we were waiting for our food to arrive and play 1-2 Switch or something. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just on the bus. Maybe it's something I would definitely. It's just something I would need to be more careful with.
Yeah.
Like the 3DS could go in my pocket, and I don't much care. But if I've got a locker to put it in and it's just staying put, it might be okay. I might try it at some point, but
that's how I feel. There's some sort of responsibility and burden of having the Switch because it's not pocket size or not easily pocket size.
I take the Joy-Cons off and just tuck them in another pocket. I mean, I kind of wear big shorts with big pockets because my area, but I haven't had. It's a little more hassle to carry around than 3DS, but I don't know. Yeah. I haven't really found it to be too much of a pain. If I want to bring games along and that kind of thing, then all of a sudden it becomes a whole ordeal.
You got to babysit the thing, though. It's like
depends on the game too.
Make sure something did.
I can tuck it in the diaper bag though.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It depends on the game too, because a lot of the stuff, like if I'm playing Spaltoon or Rocket League, it's stuff that needs internet access most of the time. I don't have that when I'm on the bus. But if it was something like, if I had the Skyrim or Breath of the Wild on there, which I don't yet, something like that I could see potentially doing.
Well,
you could
going over
grab a quick shrine or something.
Going over to that, I did a lot of that when Zelda was new. I would bring it along and just do a quick shrine or do whatever. I would purposely, when I was playing at home, I would find the shrines, mark them, and not do them, and I would save them all up, so that when I had the 5 minutes or whatever, I could just port back to one of them and do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wasn't wandering, so it wasn't a whole big quest, and I could just bam, 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 do them in little chunks like that more easily. But yeah, it's when I bring it along, it's a benefit.
Since Jason's handheld all the time, you've taken yours on a few trips, right?
Yeah, I've had it on. I've only taken it on one major road trip, which was a all-day drive. But I did have that burden of, where's it at? It was in a backpack and everything, so it wasn't just like laying out on the backseat of the car the whole time or anything. But I was still mindful of it. I had to leave it, in the car when I went out and done other stuff. But yeah, it does work. I played Spaltoon single player, which is fun.
Have you found Wi-Fi out of the house to play it? Like, I got a McDonald's nearby, and I've played it at like a cousin's house or something where on their Wi-Fi.
I did it at the hotel's Wi-Fi. I played a round or two Splatoon.
Cool.
Because I got to see the web browser that we don't normally have access to. As it wanted me to sign in at the hotel.
So, yeah, I've got it set up to my mom's Wi-Fi, so which extends outside of her house. So I've been able to sit outside, and play Rocket League matches and stuff while I'm just sitting in the backyard.
I have free hotspot on my new cell phone service. But I have yet to really try to play like Spaltoon or something on it and see.
Yeah, I wonder how good that is or how reliable or quick. What your ping's like.
Yeah, but if you get a chance to take it with you, be sure and play something with motion controls because that's interesting in the vehicle.
In the car.
You go around the curve and it's like, whoa, what is happening?
That would, seriously. That kind
Max,
of
have you
thing
had it
might
out of the
make me
house?
roll
I have
faster than
not.
a VR headset.
Oh, there's time.
Would you take it on a road trip to play, or?
I would. But I haven't.
If I had to travel for work, I almost wish I still traveled for work because I would have an excuse to play with all these toys more that I don't have time to play with at home. But yeah, like if I were stuck in a one-horse town like I used to get on my old job, oh man,
Max.
I would. Yeah. Max, do you get stuck in one-horse towns?
I live in a one-horse town.
Oh, you live in a one-horse town.
Yeah.
Seems
So,
like
right.
it anyway.
So see, if I were stuck in your town, I would totally just hang out in a hotel and play Switch.
Wait, if you lived in a one-horse town, you'd rent a hotel?
This is getting into an interesting story here.
Yeah, it's getting too abstract. But point being, yeah, man, if you can get Wi-Fi outside, to me it is fun. Like standing on my in-laws' porch when they did the global test fire or whatever for Splatoon before Splatoon came out, or Splatoon 2, I mean. Being able to stand there, like there was a big family Christmas thing, and I was able to go disappear out on the porch, and it was like kind of like the old days when I was a smoker, and I'd go disappear out on the porch. But in this case, I was disappearing out on the porch to play in the Splatoon Splatfest thing.
Well, and the thing is, I
there was
could see
something
the
just really
future
cool about that.
being like 4G, or Nintendo having, or probably not Nintendo. I'm sure somebody else will do it before Nintendo. But a console like that's a hybrid or a
The Vita.
portable, having its own network.
Vita had its own 3G. Yeah. Well, a version of it. It came with it and without it.
So yeah, I could see that. It is, but right now, yeah, it's more of a novelty of being able to be outside.
Well, to be honest, and again, when the DS came out and wasn't a phone, I was kind of surprised back at that time. I really thought that was the direction Nintendo should have been going from the get-go, and maybe not, but that always seemed like a pretty natural thing to me, is that the gaming should have a cellular connection, because there was all this potential. As soon as Google Maps came along, stuff like Pokemon Go should have immediately followed, but for some reason they didn't.
Yeah.
Right, but to me that always seemed like a very natural extension, and it just took forever to get here, and when it did, it was kind of half-assed, and I don't know what happened along the way. It seemed like that should have been a natural thing 10 years ago. And again, that would have also included Nintendo making a phone.
We've yet to see what PlayStation and Xbox come up with, but I have no doubt that when they finally get around to it, it'll probably be better. And it'll have folders in Netflix.
We'll have Netflix at launch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they tried to copy the motion controls from the Wii, if I remember correctly.
Oh
Yeah.
Have we touched on that? Because
by the way, they've discontinued, I believe, this week.
Yeah, like both of them pretty much discontinued very recently. The Move and the Kinect, right?
Xbox Kinect, yeah. I know Kinect is officially dead.
I'm sorry. No, the Move still they use the Move now with the VR stuff. It's kind of evolved. I forgot. They didn't cancel that.
Because Xbox hasn't dipped into VR yet, have they?
No, I don't think so.
Microsoft was going to do AR to be different, and nobody cares.
Because we saw how it revolutionized the world on the 3DS.
And in Google Glass.
Yeah. But
right.
It
Those were
could
the
be
two
cool
big wins
at some point.
And I have to
never
admit,
know.
The AR games on 3DS were cute. They were fun. But again, I'm the gimmick guy, but I thought they were cool. I had a good time. And they weren't. It wasn't a long game, and there wasn't too much to it.
Yeah.
But for what it was,
little fishing AR game.
Yeah, a free pack in, and the and Face Blasters, same thing, right? For free pack in games, they were cute, but they were just like Rob, right? They were like, "Oh, that was a neat idea. Yeah. Let's not ever do that again."
Nintendo has stated that they would prefer to do AR over VR, as they believe that the AR is where the fun and excitement.
But they probably also have some patents in that area from the 3DS or something. That, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
They've probably already got a foot in the door with AR somehow.
To briefly bring up last week's conversation where we mentioned how many 3DSs we had each bought, at least 2 sets of AR cards sealed.
Yeah, same here.
Oh yeah, I've got
those. Will be worth nothing on eBay someday.
Yeah, two.
Everybody has many copies.
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 sealed. Yeah.
Do they use
how many 3DSs do you have?
Personally, 2. I played my original one to death, and then I got the new 3DS XL to replace it as the upgrade. But we've gone through a couple of others in our household.
Yeah. Which one do you have?
Just the brown one. Basically, my original one.
I was gonna say there's a
bronze or whatever. It had sort of little stripes on it. They're mostly worn off now, but
I think that's exclusive to Canada.
Canada, I think so.
I don't know.
It's brown and it has a what on it?
Well, it's just textured with sort of stripes going diagonally across the thing.
There was a new 3DS XL that was brown with textured stripes. Mo, you seem to be the authority on the different versions here. Have you ever heard of this?
I have no idea. The 2DS has some stripes.
It's a Canada exclusive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't
Canadian exclusive.
It wasn't ridged like the new 2DSs are. It was just sort of the paint.
Is it woody looking?
Oh, wait a minute. Are you talking?
No, it doesn't look like wood.
Are you talking about the very first new 3DS XL?
It might have been.
Yeah, it's kind of a reddish color. Reddish brown.
Reddish brown.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm a little colorblind, so that's possible.
That could be.
I
was trying to remember. I don't even remember what they launched with.
I knew I had a colorblind buddy. Every piece of clothing he owned was quote unquote brown, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it served you well, though.
They were mostly different shades of green, or I don't know. It was weird.
Barry, how do you feel about playing a 3DS on a bus? Do you mind just socially about taking it out and being the guy playing video games in public?
My wife says it's black, actually. But anyways, I don't mind. I usually sit up near the front, and usually I'm just doing a little puzzle game like Shuffle or something like that. I had one of my friends, actually, who, anecdotally talking about some of the little technical gadgets, he tried it on city buses, which are a little bit different than the bus I take. And he got one of the old DSs and was playing one of the old Zelda games, trying to figure out, he couldn't figure out a puzzle, trying everything he could think of. Eventually, he got frustrated and just sort of huffed and saw the thing wiggle and figured out, I'm supposed to blow on the thing. And he just felt goofy on the bus, blowing on his console. Yeah. So he sort of gave up on that. But, the type of stuff I do and it doesn't bother me much. Like I said, it's not a city bus. It's just a coach that goes directly to, my workplace and back. And so, same 4 people sitting around me every day and usually sleeping on the way to work or back. So,
right. Did you get the neon switch?
Look goofy blowing into your 3DS.
Yeah.
I've done that kind of stuff on a plane. But sorry, go ahead, Mo.
Oh, I just asked him if he had the neon switch.
No, my switch is the black one.
I feel like that one is the more respectable one to take out in public.
Do you mean the gray one, Barry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's probably gray one.
But I want to ask, though, since you do have children that game, do you think you'll ever have more than one Switch console for everyone in your home, or is it going to be a one Switch per family? Because that's something we kind of talked about last week.
Yeah, what do you think? And if they were to release a new Switch a couple years down the road, would you like make that yours and then make the other one boys or something?
I don't know. I mean, I've something again I've thought of. There've been moments when my wife's looked at playing Splatoon, and if we wanted to play Splatoon together, she'd have to get another, or we'd need a second system to get that to work. So it's come up in conversation that way. Nothing probably in the immediate future. Yeah, and then for the kids, well, that's sort of a different animal again. Right now we've got shared accounts on there, and it works okay. But sort of one day down the road, I could see potentially getting another one. I don't know if it'll be sort of one for everyone like the 3DS is. Probably not, unless
they're so expensive right now. Yeah. But a price drop will have to come eventually too. I think it'll be $250 at some point. But yeah, I also am concerned about how that's going to work with online.
I also hope they start selling it bare, at least without the dock and the extra grip. Right? People are going to be clamoring for that, and I think they will eventually do that because there are people that want that just don't want to spend the extra money. So I think that might be the first price drop.
I mean, if you could drop $90 off the price by just not having a dock,
they wouldn't though. They'd probably ditch the dock and drop $50.
Yeah.
But if they ditch the dock, well, if they ditch the dock and the grip, they can also ditch the HDMI cable. They can probably even swap out the regular, the big charger that they sell for just a USB cable.
Yeah.
Right, and just a little wall wart thing, you know what I mean? Because they don't need. The only reason they need that super powerful power supply and that just a regular old, thing that everybody else has doesn't work is because of the dock and all that.
The Switch Lite.
Yeah, so they could totally sell because they can justify it by dropping a lot of hardware and then they can drop $100 off it. They could totally do that for $200. The light switch.
There
you
go. Yeah, I mean they could do that, or they could start calling the standards. See, the problem is they didn't do that from launch because they could have called this the deluxe set, and then had the basic package, which was just
for
the handheld.
But you know what? Yeah. I know it. They have flashbacks to the Wii U where there were shelves and shelves of the Wii Basic or Wii U Basic because nobody wanted it. Because who the hell wanted an 8 GB console and no game? When for $50 more it comes with a game and more RAM. That was a really dumb no-brainer.
Of course, how many people would do that though and buy the cheaper off-brand docks too? If they had that as an option.
Fair enough. I just hope they will because I would like to upgrade when the new one comes out. But I've put my money in on the docks and the accessories. I don't need any more. I just give me another bare Switch. I don't even need Joy-Cons. Just give me the unit itself, please. I know they won't do that, but
go on eBay.
Yeah.
When an upgrade comes out, I'm gonna have to buy a bunch of extra accessories I don't want. You're right. I'll probably just either eBay them or find somebody I can, share or trade with or whatever.
Yeah. But to answer Jason's question, probably this is the future of consoles, I would say.
I would tend to agree with that.
I'm a little worried where the battery life goes in the future because I've seen how it tapers off with 3DSs, and it's not that long on the Switch to begin with when it's out of the dock.
Here's what I think.
It does suck that they could do a newer version where it has a replaceable battery. That was always a scary thing about
Well, and again, there's always a trend. There's always a trend towards more battery efficiency. Like the X2, right? The Tegra X2 chip is supposed to be more battery efficient than the X1.
Right.
At the same processor rate. But I'll also say this: I don't think Microsoft is getting into this game. Sony might, but I doubt it. I think Microsoft is, they've got the Microsoft Surface. That's as close to a Switch as they're ever going to get. And they're pushing the games for Windows thing right now. I have a feeling the Xbox One X is going to be the last Xbox.
That's the thing is Microsoft has never done a handheld up to this point, but they
wouldn't. They try Windows phones. I mean, you know what I mean? They're in a different ball game. They're making phones.
Yeah.
Well, Sony made phones, but it's
and they don't really need the Xbox to survive as a company.
They don't. That's not. Yeah.
Although Sony kind of needs the PlayStation.
Well, Sony did the Vita. Remember?
But nobody needs their console as much as Nintendo does.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And Vita had some kind of version of off TV play on it. That was probably very much like Wii U, where you had to be in the house on the same Wi-Fi, and
it was a local stream to the Vita kind of thing that gave Wii U like functionality.
But I would say that if I had to bet, I would put all my money on the next Nintendo console is definitely going to be hybrid like this.
I don't think we'll ever see two consoles.
Yeah.
Not unless it's something totally different.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't. Nintendo might release some other offside piece of hardware, like the minis count as that as well. You know.
Yeah. They might be done with portables.
They're a legitimate gaming machine. Well, I don't know. I think
as far as dedicated portable,
if they could make a phone size Switch down the road, I think they would. Something that really can fit in your pocket. I think they would.
Yeah. Clamshell.
Working out the Joy-Cons would be hard. But I have a feeling that eventually, somewhere down the line in the far future, there will be a miniature Switch of some kind that's more pocket size.
They could do a hardwired Switch where the Joy-Con just aren't removable, and you can't play your motion control games or whatever.
Well, right, just like the 2DS was a kind of by design intentionally limited version of the 3DS initially.
Yeah.
Now it's just without the 3D. There's no other.
Yeah, I mean, they could do one where it's just got it's basically like the Vita with attached controls, and then if you want to play motion control games, you have to buy a separate set of Joy-Cons.
This is totally precedented. Actually, I'm thinking about it because 3D was the whole selling point of the 3DS, and then they released the 3DS without 3D. Well, the removable Joy-Cons is the whole premise of the Switch. Therefore, they could still release a Switch without removable Joy-Cons. It's just no longer a Switch at that point, just like the 2DS was no longer a 3DS.
You could even do it with a smaller screen. Yeah.
Well, and as a second console for kids, like if you want to be able to play online together wireless, just a mini one. Like I just want to play Spaltoon wirelessly with my brother or sister. Yeah, totally. Who cares if you can't remove the Joy-Cons?
It's a very interesting idea, especially if it was at a lower price and it could just kind of feed off of the Switch, just almost as separate controllers with screen.
Yeah, it can do just enough that it has game parity with it, but otherwise everything else is just stripped bare.
What if it's thin enough that it can fit in the dock? Because the controllers and everything would be hidden by the dock as well. It'd be so thin.
I would say by design it probably would not be dockable.
Yeah.
The power port would be somewhere else or something,
Unless
put it on an edge or something.
Yeah, or it could have its own dock that's special to it or something. But yeah.
Or just no dock. I think would be part of the no dock would be part of the fact that it's a lower cost. You know what I mean? If you want a primo experience that can plug into your TV, that's where you gotta fork over the extra dollars.
Yeah, buy the big one. I don't know. It's not going to happen for a while because they've got the 3DS out, and any kind of price drop is going to be competing with that.
And they're just now starting to ramp up numbers on this one. So
yeah,
we still got 20 million to sell before we start doing another console.
Yeah, which they might. I don't know. Do you guys think this year? Do you think they'll even double sales in the next 12 months from where they're at now? Do you think this train's going to keep going?
I'm going to say no, because right now, especially, we don't know what's in the future. And
yeah. I'll tell you what's not in the future: a new Zelda and a new Mario.
That's true.
I think they will.
Yeah.
They dropped Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and Smash.
Yeah, well, that's true. Those could be.
I think if they're going to continue
Especially,
this
yeah.
year, and they're going to stay on the same path that they've been on in 2017, they're really going to have to lay it down. Like Eric says, it's going to have all the big titles. There's going to have to be something new every quarter. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to beat 2017. But I'm wondering if now everybody who's interested in a Switch has one, or if it'll continue, or what they need to do now to grow the system, and make more people actually want it. They're going to have to show us something, and it can't just be Kirby and Yoshi.
I agree.
So anyway,
well, I think we're about ready to wrap up for the evening. We seem to have went through our topics, and we're ready for that new direct announcement to hit us just after our podcast goes live. So,
feel it. It's coming tomorrow.
It's coming tomorrow. It might already be there, and we just haven't seen it yet because we're recording. So. Well, I want to send a special thanks to Barry for joining us tonight. It's been great having you. Hope you'll come
absolutely.
back. Hang out again.
Yeah, thanks, Barry.
Oh, it's been fun. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for tuning in tonight, and be sure and subscribe. You can find us here on YouTube where we record, and of course you can find us on Stitcher and iTunes. And if you want to chat with us or see what's going on with us, check us out at NOA Podcast on Twitter. We'd be glad to chat with you. So, till next time, see you then.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.